That's what I'm talking about with Olivier Giroud. Hernandez is going down the left. You can just see a gap in between two red shirts. He pokes it through, and what we call corner box situation where Giroud's reliable, bangs it back into Hernandez's feet. Yes, he gets a bit of a scruffy shot off, but it's just all about, if I play it in, I can go and support him, I can create something, I can gamble.
Thomas Lemar places the ball for the French corner. Left-hand side as they come forward. Varane has come up into the penalty area. Denmark with everyone back in a defensive location. Schmeichel's a couple of paces off his goal line. He looks poised and ready. Lemar is awaiting the instruction from the referee. Now France have got some kind of pre-rehearsed move here. They have three players like they're little kids in a playground playing the train. They're holding onto the back of each other's shirt. They're on the edge of the penalty area, and I think the two in front of Giroud are buffers for him to try and find a bit of space. By the way, the VAR is looking at the challenge on Giroud there as we see the corner swung in. Lamar's delivery for Varane's header is wide, but the VAR, having had a look at it, say nothing and now play on.
Yeah, continue with the out-swinging corner there. You know, it can be a dangerous game. I see Denmark there playing like a zone. I think half the players marking man-to-man, and they had four players along the 6-yard line. If you're a centre forward and you see that, you start rubbing your hands thinking to yourself, well, if I can get a run on this defender, I will definitely get more height than him. So you just got to be careful when you play zonal.
The way Giroud was using two teammates as little buffers in front of him to make sure no one could hold him. Did you ever do that, Dion? I mean, you were obviously a target for headers, but also a target for defenders to mark you. Did you ever use a shield, if you like?
Yeah, always. Especially out swinging corners that you know it's going to be coming towards you rather than going in towards the keeper. I used to sort of hold, when I was playing for Norwich and Coventry back in the day, I'd hold one of my own players in front of me so I couldn't be marked. Give me a little bit more freedom to get a bit of a run up and get more height than defender. Never worked though, Conor, unfortunately.
That's the voice of Dion Dublin watching this game of the series in Moscow. 0-0 between Denmark and France. 0-0 in the other game in this group being played at the moment, Australia and Peru. At the moment, France still going through as group winners, and Denmark would be joining them as the runners-up, but it can all change. Here is Thomas Lemar, midway inside the Danish half, left-hand side of midfield. Lays it off short to Stephen Nzonzi, who's got Hernandez outside him at left-back, enjoying a good World Cup so far for him. Lucas Hernandez, not a very experienced international. This is just his 8th cap. Griezmann has it, midway inside the Danish half, back to Lemar again, easy to spot in those bright orange boots. And Griezmann's hungry for possession, he drops deep again to get involved. Lemar onto Hernandez, level now with the edge of the Danish penalty area. Back to Lemar, 10 yards outside it. Griezmann continues involved in the move again for a 4th time, and not a great ball from Griezmann, and a chance to counter-attack now for Denmark as Cornelius comes over the halfway line. He's been tracked back by Kimpembe. Kimpembe ushers him out towards the touchline, and eventually the ball goes out for a French throw. Good defending from Presnel Kimpembe.
Yeah, very much on his own there, Cornelius, sort of running down a dark alley with no end product, sort of got shepherded out. Thought he did okay there, to be fair. He was all on his own. He needs to get more support.
Lovely day in Moscow, bright blue skies, plenty of sunshine, one fluffy candy floss cloud in the sky away to our right hand side as Dembele pushes the ball in front of Sidibe. Here comes a really good cross into the centre, and back there defending was Andreas Christensen, the Chelsea defender. That was an important header. He had two Frenchmen lurking behind him, and France pick it up again. Griezmann, the number 7, forward to Dembele. Griezmann's made a great run here into the penalty area. Sanka's tracking him. Good play by the Huddersfield defender. Shields it and shepherds it out for a goal kick.
Yeah, one of those balls that you know you have to get it right. Zanka had to stay on his feet. Griezmann there got to the ball first. Zanka didn't have to touch the ball. He just used his strength, ushered Griezmann off the pitch. Ball goes out. No harm there.
Breaking news elsewhere in Group C. Ian Brown.
Yes, they'll be pleased in Denmark. It's Australia 0, Peru 1. They've waited 36 years to score a goal in the World Cup finals, and finally the Peruvians have done it. It was made by Guerrero, the skipper, to the edge of the penalty area. A delightful ball chipped across the penalty area, but what a finish as well. On his right foot, on the volley, a dipping shot from Andre Carrillo. The player who was on loan at Watford last season has smashed in a glorious goal for Peru. Australia now with it all to do. We've played just under 19 minutes. 1-0 to Peru.
Thank you, Ian. No offence to Australia, but I think we've got a bit of a soft spot for Peru. Their fans have been brilliant in this World Cup. They will be delighted to get a goal.
Yeah, we've travelled around a lot of places in Russia, and wow, red and white everywhere when they're playing. You know, the stadium's bouncing when they're there. They've got drums and scarves, and just great people, and I'm glad they've got a goal.
Yeah, and I think I'm right in saying now that Costa Rica are the only team in the World Cup who haven't scored yet. I think that's right. We'll check that out in just a moment. But as things stand, it'll be France top of the group, Denmark in second. Peru will bounce off the bottom and they'll be third in the group if they can hold on with that scoreline. And Australia at the moment are bottom and fourth in Group C, but it can all change. We'll keep you up to date with events both here in Moscow and in that Australia-Peru game here on 5 Live, where France have got a throw in left full-back position. Hernandez gives it short to Nzonzi, and then back to Hernandez and to Griezmann. A nice touch from Nzonzi again, and it's all very neat and tidy from the French here.
Yeah, it is, and it's what you expect. Denmark now have just sort of changed their plans. They've just tried a high press and forced France to go long. It's worked for them. They've got the ball back. If they can do that sporadically, sometimes drop off, sometimes try and surprise the French, I think it might work in their favour.
So far France have had twice as much possession in the game as the Danes. Schmeichel clears it right-footed, high up over the halfway line. Sidibe jumps good. Header won by the Monaco right-back. And then Dembele with a bit of slalom weaving through the midfield. Griezmann tried to let it go through his legs, and that's picked up, and Denmark regained possession. They have it with Braithwaite on the right-hand side. He needs some support. Turns, rolls it back to Dalsgaard. Back in field to Simon Kjær. And to his left-hand side, there's Zanka over there at the moment. Andreas Christensen, the Chelsea player, is playing in a sort of holding midfield role, with Zanka joining Kjær at the back for Denmark. Schmeichel pumps it down the right wing this time. Braithwaite jumps for the ball. Helped on by Delaney now, over the top. Cornelius is going to run with Kimpembe, only his third cap today for Kimpembe, and he's struggling there a little bit as he slides by the byline, and that's going to be a corner to Denmark, and their fans like that.
That's good pressure. Cornelius there making sure that he doesn't foul Kimpembe. Make sure he gets a touch as well. I'm not sure that went out, actually. I think the linesman may have given them a corner where he think he might have kept it in.
So, corner to Denmark, slightly controversial. Eriksson preparing to take it. Mandanda bouncing up and down on his toes inside the 6-yard box. The French goalkeeper wearing yellow. Here he comes then, right-footed from Christian Eriksen, spinning away from the goalkeeper, headed by Varane, back in by Zanka, header by Kimpembe near the penalty spot. Now Lamar will battle for it, but he loses out to Pione Sisto. Denmark have possession, but they're back to the halfway line. Kjær, most of his teammates still ahead of him up from that corner. No great urgency for the Danes, though. I'm sure word will have filtered through to the players on the pitch, with Peru leading against Australia at the moment. And then a ball is floated by Kjær, carelessly from Kjær towards Eriksson, floats over his head and goes out.
That's got to be so frustrating for Eriksson. He puts the ball on the money. What I mean by that, it's an outswinger, and it's headed by a French defender on the penalty spot. You've got to get players in there, you've got to gamble, especially with an outswinger.
Throw into France, left full-back position for them. Luca Hernandez to take 0-0 here on 5 Live. At the moment, France going through as group leaders, Denmark joining them as runners-up into the last 16. As header is won by Andreas Christensen. France get it back with Nzonzi. Giroud is a touch as well, and then the ball goes out of play, bang on the halfway line. Referee blows the whistle, and I think that's a foul on Hernandez, and it's going to be a free kick to the French. And just to confirm, by the way, with that goal for Peru, it does mean that Costa Rica are the only team in the competition now who have yet to score a goal at this World Cup.
Yeah, there's still time. You never know. Just looking back at that free kick there on Hernandez, just got barged off the ball there, nearly fell into one of the dugouts. The barge was that heavy. What I'd like to see a little bit more of is quick play. When you get a free kick, or you get a corner, or you get a throw-in, just a bit quicker, just look a little bit livelier, because at the moment the game's sort of pedestrian, still feeling each other out. A bit more urgency.
Yeah, midway through the first half. We've commentated on all the French games of this World Cup, Dion. People saying before the tournament, maybe the best 23 individuals. Do you think they are genuine contenders to go and win this World Cup, having seen so much of them now?
I think on their day, Connor, I think they could beat anybody. They've got so much pace, they've got so much quality.
Giroud, lovely ball for Sidibe. He didn't even look, he just knew he was there. There's appeals for a handball in the penalty area. I'm sure that will be looked at by the VAR. Zanka's going to clear the ball away. He's down on the byline. Sidibe coming across to try and keep it in play for France. Sisto back helping out for Denmark, wins it, and with the help of Zanka they'll clear it away. And our screens haven't flashed about the VAR, but that certainly looked like something to look at that second time.
Yeah, yes, even from here, from our commentary position, I thought that hit his hand, and Normally our screen will flash up and say, you know, VAR or we're checking it, but I've seen Dembele's reaction there. He was jumping about like a spoiled child in the referee's face, as if to say, come on, give us something, give us it.
Oh, just watching there as Griezmann made a wonderful darting run, but Nzonzi didn't spot him, and then there's almost an arm raise of apology afterwards from Nzonzi, saying that was a really good run, I should have found you. Kimpembe has the ball on the halfway line for France. N'Golo Kante slips, but he recovers his composure immediately. Sets off on a run deep into the Danish half. He's got Dembele with him. Dummies on his right boot, sends a left-footed pass. I don't think it was intended for Hernandez, but it's worked out for him. Now he'll cut it back for the byline left-hand side. Cuts it back straight to Christian Eriksen, who's able to clear away for Denmark. Still 0-0 here on 5 Live. Possession with Nzonzi.
Sorry, Con, it's a good job that Hernandez really gambled there, because Griezmann was really sloppy with his ball there. Went by 2 players, both players going, was that for me? Was that for me? Hernandez gambled.
And a foul here on Lamar. 7 yards outside the penalty area left-hand side. Free kick in a dangerous position for the French.
Yeah, there's plenty of players that can get on this one. Griezmann now has got the ball on his left foot. Dembele's over there as well. They're having a bit of a conflab. Having another look at that penalty appeal from the French, and I think the referee's got it bang on. I think it hit him in his ribs, right hand side of his body. I think it hit his ribs and his underarm, so no penalty. Great decision.
Don't forget, coming up at half-time, we'll be live at the England camp. We'll hear from Gareth Southgate on 5 Live. We're going to hear from Danny Rose as well at the England camp during the break here at the Luzhniki Stadium. At the moment, 0-0 between Denmark and France. These two nations going through as things stand, with the French as group winners. That's if there's no change in the Australia game and no change here. Free kick, which Lamar is waiting for the instruction from the referee to take. Schmeichel is poised, here it comes, in swinger, not a bad free kick at all, and it needed care to put it out for a corner. Delicate touch, that was one of those that he could have spun it anywhere, and he took just a little subtle glance to put it out for the corner.
Yeah, what a ball in there. Great ball from Dembele, sort of leaving it in an area where you're hoping one of your forwards or one of your fellow teammates will get on the end of it. Really good defending. If that had gone wrong, it could have been an own goal.
So the corner will be taken from the far side by young Dembele. High, floating, the 2 central defenders were up there jumping for it, Giroud as well, but Denmark do well to clear it away. A strong header that goes all the way to the halfway line, and due to a clash of heads, the referee is going to stop play and just make sure that no medical attention is needed there. 2 players colliding, Simon Kjær and Olivier Giroud, I think. And Kjær's the one who's come off the worst of it.
Yeah, far post there for Varane, I think it was, and Olivier Giroud really getting up, getting some real good height. Unfortunately, there was a clash of heads. Looking at the replay again, yeah, it was an elbow. It was a loose elbow from Olivier Giroud, just trying to get some leverage. No intent whatsoever. All kinds of stuff going on in there. Referee right just to stop it. Head injury. Make sure it was okay.
So Denmark 0, France 0 here. Let's check on how Australia have responded to going behind to Peru. Ian Brown.
27 minutes played, it's still 1-0 to Peru. They were hardly responding at all until a few moments ago when Rogic, the Celtic player, was able to dribble into the penalty area, held off a couple of challenges, got a little bit of luck, but then he was faced one-on-one with the goalkeeper, Pedro Gelles, but he hit it too close to the Peruvian keeper, who did well to block it with his knee. It's gone out for a corner, which is just about to be taken. Australia trailing by 1-0. That's taken easily by the goalkeeper, who caught the corner, so 1-0 still.
Thank you very much, Ian. 0-0 here in Moscow. If you're just tuning our way on 5 Live, Australia going out of the World Cup as it stands. As here is Lamar down the left-hand side, crossing position. He's got support from Antoine Griezmann just outside the penalty area, runs right to the edge of it, hangs in across, not a bad ball, however there's no one there to get on the end of it, and Striger Larsen is able to clear it away left-footed for Denmark.
Yeah, fantastic touch there from Griezmann. Kante trying to get it into Olivier Giroud's feet.
Now maybe a chance here for Cornelius, who's scampered off down that left wing. He's looking up to see if the support, not a bad ball at all. Eriksen onto it, Mandanda comes out, appeals for a penalty. Play on, says the referee. That was a super pass by Cornelius, and Christian Eriksen was almost in for the opening goal.
Yeah, he was actually sprinting down the left wing. He just left it into an area that he hoped that Eriksen would get there. He doesn't. Great tackle from Hernandez. Great defending. Just timed it bang on. Could have quite easily been a pen.
That was the definition of corridor of uncertainty there, as France trying to get it up into the penalty area down the other end. Giroud jumps in the air, flicks off the top of his quiff, but it can't be controlled by France. and it's cleared away by Denmark to the halfway line. But the pass from Cornelius was too far for the goalkeeper to come, and it was too far for the defender to stretch, and it was just almost perfect for Christian Eriksen, who made a great run to get onto it, and those things all nearly combined. However, the tackle was made and France cleared it away.
Yeah, it was a tackle that he had to make. He couldn't gamble on the keeper getting there first. Eriksen showing his pace. Cornelius really wide on the left, just left him an area and hoped. The keeper couldn't come out, couldn't gamble. Better football, better support as well for Cornelius. Needs more support.
Half an hour played now. Striger Larsson wins an interception. N'Golo Kante nibbles in, and that goes out for a throw-in on the far side. As we get to see a replay on our monitors here in the stadium of that Cornelius pass. Eriksen was onto it. I mean, the goalkeeper did well, spreading his body. Eriksen couldn't sort of just lash it. He had to try and dink it over the advancing goalkeeper. And good defending by Hernandez to get back as well. But that's probably the best chance Denmark have had. And I'm going to give this, I'm going to say this, I'm looking to do reverse psychology on the curse of the commentator. We've not had a 0-0 yet at the World Cup, Dion Dublin. Could this be the one?
No. Absolutely no chance. Come on, boys, give us a goal. Come on.
Here come France. Bit of purpose about this surge over the halfway line now from Luca Hernandez. On to Thomas Lemar, an injection of pace again. He's got to the edge of the Danish penalty area. That looked like a trip on him. I'm very surprised the referee didn't give that. Denmark regained possession. Delaney in field to Cornelius, and then Christian Eriksen backheels it from bang on the touchline, and the assistant raises his flag for a throw-in to the French. Lemar is still down on the edge of the penalty area. I was sure he was clipped here. He was. Dalsgaard stamping down onto the foot of Thomas Lemar right on the edge of the penalty area. Referee did not give a free kick.
Wow, we've got a slow-mo. I've got a couple of screens here in front of me, and you get a slow-mo of it, and you can imagine the pain that he's just got there, Lemar. The studs going down his left ankle. You can see the metal studs there raking down his ankle on the slow-mo. They are painful ones. I'm not surprised that he stayed down. Referee missed it though. Should have been a free kick.
As it is, it will be a throw into France. Didier Deschamps is up off his feet, going for a little stroll around the large technical area here in the Luzhniki Stadium. France give it out to the far side to Djibril Sidibe, one of 6 changes in the French team from their last match against Peru. The ball goes out of play on the far side, and that's going to be a throw-in for Striger Larsson. So France going through as group winners at the moment. They know they're going through one way or the other, but if it's 0-0 here, France will top the group. Denmark will be in second, and as things stand with Peru leading Australia by a goal to nil at the moment, Peru third, Australia rock bottom. But a long way to go. Ball is cleared away by Simon Kjær, the Sevilla defender for Denmark. Lucas Hernandez wins header for France midway inside his own half. A cushion header on by Steven Nzonzi is going to drop for Christian Eriksen, and Eriksen fails to pick out Thomas Delaney, who was away to his left-hand side. So France will pick up the loose ball. Sidibe on the far side helps it on to Ousmane Dembele, and Denmark have got to fall back into a defensive formation. Giroud has it on the right-hand side. Sidibe onto Dembele, puts his head down. That's a decoy on his left boot. Then he hits it with his right. Schmeichel went at full stretch to his right-hand side, but it's wide of the target. Goal kick to Denmark.
Yeah, he's actually faked to shoot with his left foot and comes on his right. I must be, 200 or 300 yards away from it. I actually went for that as well. I went to block the shot as well. I actually thought he was going to take it on his left foot, but he didn't. Chop back onto his right. Wide of the post, no danger for Schmeichel, but you shouldn't really allow shots to come in like that.
Yeah, Schmeichel had it fully covered. He dived out, and then he can even, in mid-air, he just pulled his arms back. No need to get a touch in it. He knew it was going wide. Free kick to Denmark for a foul on Eriksen just down below us.
In positions like this, they're just in front of... this is Denmark now, going down the right side. They're just in front of France's dugout. They are now taking their time. They're getting... The big centre-halves are all going up. Zanka's going up. Christensen's going in there. Put it into an area. Let's see if France can defend.
Just over 10 minutes to go to the break. Eriksen rolls it short to Sisto. Now he clips it into the penalty area, but no glancing header on it, and it's easily collected by Mandanda.
They had a great chance there. Eriksen playing it short. It cuts down the angle. Keep the angle of the cross. Get the ball into an area where you can actually finish it first time. Get a head-on goal first time. When it's a straight ball and a straight run, it's really difficult to get under control.
So we know that Uruguay will play Portugal in the last 16. We know Russia will play Spain. As things stand, and ahead of obviously the games in Group D later on, but France will be playing Nigeria at the moment. If Group D was to finish now, it would be Denmark against Croatia, but that can all change as today progresses. But by tonight we will know the 4 teams that have come through from C and D, and tomorrow Brazil, Switzerland, Serbia, Costa Rica, that group in action, and the Germans with work to do to ensure that they will be progressing as well in that group F, along with Mexico, Sweden, Korea. All those teams, none of them know that they're through yet in Group F for sure. Of course, in Group G, England's group, we know England and Belgium are through, and still things to be sorted out in Group H as well, as Hernandez crosses left-hand side for France into the penalty area. Kerr was well located, just hovering in front of Olivier Giroud, and he's able to clear it away, and Denmark do just lash it long, and Mandanda comes way out of his penalty area and collects possession for France, who have it now with Sidibe on the far side. Into the middle of the midfield, and Stephen Nzonzi, the former Blackburn and Stoke City player. N'Golo Kante helps it on to Luca Hernandez, and then Thomas Lemar back to N'Golo Kante once again. France have dominated the possession in this game. Giroud scoops it into the penalty area. Griezmann falls down, crumples to the deck. Don't think anyone touched him. I think he was actually just trying to swivel and run, and he's tripped himself up. And play on. Possession in the arms of Kasper Schmeichel.
It's a neat little ball actually from Giroud. They sort of switched positions there. Griezmann ended up in a centre-forward position, and they just got mixed up. Griezmann wanted it to feet. Giroud goes long over the top, just on different wavelengths then.
Here's Thomas Lemar. He's got a little bit of grass to run into here down the left wing. Dalsgaard backpedaling away from him. Lemar turns in field and gives it to Stephen Nzonzi, and now into space on the far side for Sidibe, the Monaco right back. He's got Dembele close to him. This is midway inside the Danish half. Denmark falling back into a defensive formation now. All 11 players virtually back inside their final third. Eriksen makes the interception. Denmark are working hard, but they're not seeing as much of the ball, and they often give it away cheaply, as Zanka does here, just returning the ball to the French inside their own half with Presnel Kimpembe.
Yeah, they're just Denmark are just nullifying that ball into Giroud. Now Christensen's just dropped back a couple of yards just to make it a little bit more difficult for France to get the ball into Giroud, and it's worked.
Yeah, remember, a draw here will be enough for Denmark, regardless of what happens in the other game. If this does finish 0-0, Denmark will know they're going through regardless. Hernandez takes the throw in, back to N'Golo Kante, 15 yards outside the penalty area, left-hand side as France come forward in their change strip. They wore blue in the opening 2 games. They've got another smart white kit today. Varane onto Sidibe on the right-hand side. Giroud waits patiently in the middle, but no cross comes. And back through Varane to Kimpembe, who's got the centre circle to himself. Short to N'Golo Kante, left-hand side of the midfield. Eriksen shuffles up to him. No urgency from N'Golo Kante. Short pass to Nzonzi. Now out to Sidibe on the right-hand side. And this is just going through the motions from France, holding possession, forcing Denmark to do a lot of running here, chasing the ball as Griezmann tries to flick it back into Sidibe, and eventually it breaks down for France. But all Denmark can do is clear their lines. They're not retaining possession when they win it back.
Yeah, you know, they're really compact at the moment, Denmark. They're almost in a 4-4. You know, if you were to put some cones out in a 4-4 sort of formation, that's exactly what they're like. They're rigid. They're allowing France to go down the left-hand side and the right-hand side, but nothing's coming through the middle. If you want to get a cross in, we don't mind that, but you're not coming through our middle.
Denmark, who've taken 4 points from the opening 2 games, but there has been a lot of criticism in the Danish media about how the team has been playing. Throw in here, right full-back position. Brentford's Henrik Dalsgaard will be the man to take it. The first Brentford player ever to appear at a World Cup, Henrik Dalsgaard.
He's done well as well. Yeah. Actually played well today. Steady.
Schmeichel's clearance, right-footed straight down the middle. Nzonzi watched it coming, jumps in the air, beats Cornelius. And then N'Golo Kante lunges in to try and win it inside the centre circle, but Zanka has got Simon Kerr alongside him. And then that's nicely chested on by Braithwaite. Onto Eriksen, who tries to float one into the penalty area. Cornelius was his intended target, cut out by Real Madrid's Rafael Varane. Here is Thomas Lemar, who's small, diminutive, but he's tough, and he rides the challenge of Eriksen and brings Sidibe over the halfway line. Counter-attacking opportunity for France here. Pace from Dembele, picks out Griezmann on the edge of the penalty area. Oh, he's been allowed to turn, that's dangerous. Shoots on target, saved by Kasper Schmeichel.
Yeah, I expected a little bit more from Griezmann there. I thought he was going to put his laces through that. He sort of gets the ball corner box again, as we call it. I'm expecting Jorgensen to get a bit closer, allows Griezmann to turn, especially a player with quality. Don't let him turn, get your hand in the small of his back and usher him away from goal.
we mentioned we've seen all the French games here in Russia so far. Griezmann, it's like he's ready to explode onto the stage, but it hasn't quite happened just yet for him.
He hasn't shown us the quality we know he has. He's sort of in a position in behind Olivier Giroud. Sometimes he finds himself in a centre-forward position.
Hang on, here's Cornelius, bit of room down the right-hand side. France need to get themselves organised here. Cornelius to Eriksen on the edge of the penalty area. Didn't collect it very well, but he's recovered, and he rolls it back behind him to Delaney, midway inside the French half now. Just for a moment, it looked like Cornelius was going to be in on the right-hand side. Dalsgaard has come up from right back, gives it in field to Eriksen, and back to the halfway line when they go once more.
That's normally Eriksen's danger spot there. He normally gets a crossing or a shot off. He opts to keep hold of the ball.
Denmark 0, France 0. Careless ball from Simon Kerr. Chance gone straight through to Mandanda.
That is frustrating. Chance gone. They've worked really hard, been really patient, getting to a crossing position, shooting position. Eriksen doesn't take it on, back under pressure again.
Right, 0-0 here, 5 minutes to go to half time. Dembele, scorching run down the right hand side, floats in the cross. Dalsgaard's header is very much exactly what it needed to be there. It'd be careful not to give it into a possession of a Frenchman, of which there were loads of those lurking on the edge of the penalty area, but he managed to head it through all of them, and they get it away. And in fact, the referee has blown the whistle for a free kick to Denmark. What about Australia-Peru? There'll also be about 5 minutes to go to half-time in that one. Ian Brown's watching.
Yes, exactly that, and still good news here for Denmark in sweaty Sochi, because it's Australia 0, Peru 1. The Australians have had a couple of half chances latterly. A good run by Rogic, he found Cruz. The ball into the 6-yard box was aimed for Leckie, but a great challenge by the defender. Ramos sent the ball away for a corner, and Sainsbury has just headed wide, well wide actually, from a free kick drifted in by Aaron Moy. It is still Australia 0, Peru 1.
Thank you, Ian. Yes, sweaty Sochi is our next venue, Dion Dublin.
Yes, if you'd like to leave the sun there, I'd be more than happy. Thank you very much. Don't be moving that sun. We'll be there in a few days' time.
It's going to be a belter as well. Our next game that we're commentating on, Uruguay against Portugal. I'll tell you what, the referee is going to need eyes on the back of his head in that one. It's going to be great.
And he's going to need security if he gets a decision wrong, I can tell you.
That is going to be a brilliant game. Uruguay against Portugal in the last 16 of the World Cup, as Raphael Varane has possession for France here. Half-time bearing down upon us in Moscow. No goals in a game that's not had too many big chances either. Eriksen had that, sort of half chance where he couldn't quite get a clean connection after a brilliant ball from Cornelius. France have had a few quarter chances, not even proper half chances.
It's been quite laboured, the game, actually. Denmark really allowing France to have the ball. They've had more of the possession, haven't really done anything with it. No real spark. Nobody really taking a chance. Nobody gambling at all beyond centre forwards.
Do you think the fact that a draw sends them both through is in the back of the minds of the players here?
It can't be, surely not. Can be really dangerous, that kind of changing your mindset.
Hernandez up from left back for France, picks out Antoine Griezmann. Support from Thomas Lemar, 10 yards outside the penalty area, left hand side. Lemar, who's looked bright here, and this is his first appearance of the World Cup. Stephen Nzonzi, little 1-2 with Antoine Griezmann, who's buzzing around. He's trying to pick up spaces. He's not playing as the out-and-out striker he does with Atletico Madrid. He's allowing Giroud of that role here, and he's sort of operating in the number 10 role. Delaney's trying to keep close to him. This is N'Golo Kante, 20 yards inside the Denmark half, just turns and rolls it back to French captain in the absence of Hugo Lloris, Raphael Varane.
Just watching Christensen there, is France are trying to go from left to right, the two centre-halves to the full-back, and Christensen's just sitting in there.
Now, Lamar looking for Griezmann, has made a very good run here. Is he offside? He controls the penalty area. No flag, and Giroud puts it over the top. Well, it comes back, and a late flag, shall we call it. Now, let's remember, the officials have been told, give the benefit of the doubt, just wait for a moment, don't flag, let's see what happens, and then we'll make the decision. But I think Griezmann always looked offside there.
Yeah, he was. And when you say a late flag, that's an understatement. It's a good 5 or 6 seconds when the ball gets to Griezmann. He controls it, has a look up, finds Giroud. There's no danger at all, but 5 or 6 seconds after the ball hits his feet.
That's the instruction they've been given. And we went to one of those briefings it was in the stadium actually, it was in the room downstairs right at the start of the tournament, where they said, please don't be critical of the assistants for late flags, because it's not late. They've been told, don't put up the flag until the ball goes dead, even if you think it might be offside. Let's just wait and see what happens.
You know what, one of the frustrating things for a player is if you do go into an offside position and you're not flagged until you go to the ball, or you are deemed to be a danger, or you could score, during that 2 or 3 seconds, you could rock an ankle, you could pull your hamstring. It's really hard as a player to know, am I offside? Do I go? Do I not go?
Here is Luca Hernandez, halfway line for France, left-hand side. Olga Heride, the Norwegian coach of Denmark, prowling around down there inside the technical area. At the moment his team are going through, and that could change if Australia can get their act together in Sochi. At the moment, Peru leading the Aussies by 1-0. That means France are going through as group leaders, Denmark as runners-up at the moment. Here's Dembele, lashes one in. You knew from the moment he got the ball there, he's 30 yards out, you knew he was going to shoot, and almost predictably it's blazed way wide. Yeah,
normally hits the target with his strike. Dembele there just coming in off, plays a 1-2 with Nzonzi. Takes it with his right foot, sets himself for a left-footed shot, but that hits a big pocket of Danish fans. It goes right in the middle of a sea of red. No danger at all for Schmeichel.
A couple of minutes being added on for stoppages at the end of the first half. Ousmane Dembele, I mean, what a career he's had already. He's only 21, he's played for Dortmund, he's now with Barcelona. How good do you think he is, Dion? I mean, compare him to someone like, let's say, Rashford. Who would you prefer to have in your team, Dembele or Rashford?
Yeah, I think I'd go Rashford all day long. I think end product from Rashford is just that little bit better. Dembele's got a great career ahead of him. If he just gets his head down and starts getting a bit more end product, scores goals, I think he could be a very good player.
Stoppage time at the end of the first half. We'll be hearing from England's Danny Rose during the break. This is Thomas Lemar on the attack for France, who'd love to break the deadlock here just before half-time. Griezmann plays a poor ball, that was careless, into the penalty area and easily collected by Kasper Schmeichel.
See, that's really good defending from Denmark, concentrating. They know that France don't really want to throw it in the box. Lemar there has a great chance. Left wing, right in the final third, just to drop it into the box. He doesn't want to do it, wants to play to feet. And as you play to feet, the Danes got closer and closer, wouldn't let them through the middle. Really good defending there.
Here is Christian Eriksen, shoots, takes a deflection, and Nzonzi's going to try and run and make sure it doesn't go for a corner, but the ball beats him to it. So deep in stoppage time, we are going to have a corner to Denmark on the right-hand side. It's not been a great game so far. This is one of the poorest 45 minutes that we've seen of the World Cup, but Denmark with a chance now, one last chance in stoppage time to send themselves in ahead, and maybe with a chance of winning the group themselves.
Yeah, this is definitely right. Defend this one, lads, and we'll get a break. Don't let them score. Don't let them get an attempt on goal.
Eriksen raises his right hand as a signal to his teammates. It's another brilliant delivery. Nzonzi with a header down, and it's Griezmann who comes away with possession. Dribbles out of the penalty area, dribbles up to the halfway line. Zanka's blowing out his ears trying to keep up with him, and eventually Zanka trips him. It's got to be a card. That was cynical from the Huddersfield player. Griezmann was set off in a run that began on his own penalty spot, and he's eventually tripped almost 10 yards from the penalty area down the other end.
You know what? I've seen some quick players, running with the ball. That was incredible. Griezmann just set off on his own, didn't need any support. Lemar is trying to keep up with him. Lemar hasn't got the ball, Griezmann has, and he's running away from Lemar as well. Amazing pace. You know what? That wasn't a bad free kick to give away.
No,
wasn't a bad free kick.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, if it had been a little bit closer to the penalty area, I think there'd be appeals almost that you'd say that was a red card, because the momentum that Griezmann have brought forward, there won't be time to take the free kick. France aren't happy about that, but the half-time whistle is blown. Those are the boos and the cheers. French supporters saying, hang on, let us take the free kick, and the referee from Brazil says no. So 0-0 here at the moment. These two are going through. Dion Dublin.
Yeah, referee's just diffusing that situation. Could have got a bit heated. Kasper Schmeichel now is the last Danish player on the pitch. He's walked over to the ref, he's having a chat with the ref. Why did you stop it? I think the referee done the right thing. Get him off the pitch, let him have a break. Not the best first half though, Connor.
No, we're very much enjoying this tournament. It's a privilege to be here in Russia, but that was not a great 45 minutes of football. Let's hope it improves. Denmark 0, France 0 for now.
That was going to be my first answer. When Dion said, or you said, Conor, it could have got a little bit fiery at the end there, I was thinking, I wish it would get a little bit fiery. I wish something would happen.
Yeah, not brilliant, Chappers. I've got to say, I was expecting. I know France, they've qualified, I know, but just want to see a little bit more. There was no edge to it at all. It was very laboured. You have the ball, we have the ball. Nobody really wanted to break the deadlock. No spark. Disappointing.
Chappers, I'm beginning to wish there was a VAR controversy or something. We need something to spice this up.
Adam sent a tweet saying exactly that. I have a good feeling VAR will come to the rescue if Denmark-France
needs livening up. Carl, France are another team we can tick off the list of teams to fear at this World Cup. Very average so far. Steve, are France's tactics to win the World Cup simply bore the opposition to sleep and then sneak in a goal? Terry Butcher, we're fortunate actually, because on our other monitor we've been able to watch Australia-Peru, which is actually very good. So I don't know, Dean and Connor, if you want to turn one of your tellies to Australia-Peru, I can heartily recommend it. But this feels...
Chappers, I've got to tell you, mate, mine's already on. Australia-Peru.
That explains a lot in that first half, Dion, to be honest with you. It is basically, Terry, a game between two teams. A point will get them into the next round. France are already there. But,
absolutely. A point suits them perfectly well. The referee blew up there for full time for half time because he'd had enough. Actually, I think he was bored. It was, oh my goodness, it was like watching walking football, wasn't it? Like, you could play that at that pace if you're 60 or 70 years of age. But you'd like to think the French team as well, especially, that there's players in there that are on the fringe, or they're not being first choice or haven't been first choice. You would say, well, go on, someone just really say to Didier Deschamps, look, I want to be in this starting 11, I deserve to be there. But no, it's very flat.
And also they're through, so go and enjoy it, play some football.
Yeah, but you know what, Chappers, as well, sorry to dive in, Chaps, but I'm looking around the stadium, it's absolutely packed, but the atmosphere on the pitch has been poor, the game's been poor, there's been no singing, all the fans are flat, the whole game seems a little bit of a dead rubber. I want to see a little bit more from the crowd, I want to hear a bit more atmosphere, I want the players to do a bit more. Second half's got to be better, Chappers, surely.
We've just had a graphic for Denmark's shot, which was one off target, about 3 yards over the bar. France somehow, I have no idea how they've worked that out, but France, they're claiming, have had 5 shots, 2 on target. So not the best in Moscow then, goalless between France and Denmark. However, Ian Brown, you are watching a very entertaining game between Australia and Peru.
Yes, plenty more to talk about in this one. At half-time, Australia 0, Peru 1. Of course, that would send Australia out and be good news for Denmark. Peru, as we know, are already out of the competition, but nonetheless, tears of joy from some of their supporters when they finally scored that goal. 36 years in the making. I won't say it was quite worth the wait, but it was very good nonetheless. Paulo Guerrero made it left side of the penalty area, drifted in across, picking out Andre Carrillo, latterly of Watford, who watched the ball ever so carefully onto his right foot and scored with a cracking volley which skidded beyond goalkeeper Matt Ryan. Australia slow to respond in the steamy conditions, but Tom Rogic did manage to weave into the penalty area before being denied by goalkeeper Gales, and then Leckie was denied himself by a last-ditch challenge by Christian Ramos, the Peruvian defender. Almost a second goal for Peru with Guerrero's back header. Australia have had Jedinak booked for an almost neck-high challenge on Cueva. Another referee on another day might have given a red card for that. Remember, Australia need to score 2 without reply and win this game to have any chance of qualification, and they also need Denmark to be beaten by that labouring French team. Here at half-time, it's Australia 0, Peru 1.
8 minutes to 4, you're listening to BBC 5 Live, and here's the latest news.
On digital, online, smartphone and tablet, this is BBC 5 Live.
With the 5 Live News, I'm Alison Acton. A British man has been found guilty of planning a terror attack in Westminster and making bombs for the Taliban in Afghanistan. Khalid Ali, who's 28, was arrested carrying 3 knives in Parliament Street last year. Our Home Affairs correspondent Leila Nathu is at the Old Bailey.
He was captured on CCTV scoping out Downing Street, the Ministry of Defence, Scotland Yard and the MI6 building in Vauxhall. But his story did not begin there, because around 6 years previously, Khalid Ali had disappeared from his family home in North London. He had made his way to Afghanistan, and it was there that he joined the Taliban and became a bomb maker for the group.
A bus driver and a passenger have been killed in a collision between a double-decker and a lorry in Cambridgeshire. 5 people were seriously injured in the crash on the A47 near Wisbech. A French couple have each been jailed for at least 30 years for torturing and murdering their nanny at their home in South London. Sabrina Quider and Wassim Madouni were wrongly convinced that Sophie Lyonnais was conspiring with the former Boyzone singer Mark Walton to harm them. The Defence Minister Tobias Ellwood says his department is making the case for a budget increase. It's after the Commons Defence Committee said Britain would lose influence with the US and other NATO allies unless it massively increased military spending. Here's the former Business Minister George Freeman.
If we don't show that we have a distinctive Conservative approach to supporting enterprise, risk, hard work, savings, and we go down the road of big tax rises, big spending spree, anti-business, I fear we will lose and will deserve to. If we look like Corbyn light, the public will conclude they're better off voting for the real thing.
The Prisons Minister Rory Stewart has admitted the government's accepted a completely unsustainable bid for prisons maintenance from the collapsed construction giant Carillion. Mr Stewart told the Justice Committee the firm had underestimated the cost of the work by £15 million a year. And the US Supreme Court has backed Donald Trump's travel ban, targeting people from several Muslim-majority countries. Lower courts had found it unconstitutional, but America's highest court has reversed their decision.
This is BBC 5 Live on digital, smart speaker, smartphone and tablet.
In travel, the M3, all traffic being held in Hampshire. It's on the southbound side, just ahead of Junction 4 at Farnborough. It's to deal with an accident. Highways are at the scene. The M80 in Glasgow and heading south at Junction 1 for Provan. That's where it joins the M8. There's been a broken down car, so one of the lanes is closed for recovery there. The M62 looking heavy in West Yorkshire, heading east from the M1 at Lofthouse over to Junction 30 at Rothwell. That's another breakdown. Lots of breakdowns in the hot weather today. The M60, this is an accident and barrier repairs as well. Anti-clockwise, Junction 2 at Cheadle Roscoe's roundabout, but the queues are backing up onto the M56 at Sharston. And the M60 anti-clockwise also slow at 17 for Prestwich and Whitefield. That's really heavy anti-clockwise. The M6, very heavy in the roadworks through Warwickshire. Again, it's northbound at Junction 3 for Nuneaton. And very heavy traffic on the M25, anti-clockwise along the bottom from Clackett Lane services over to Warpington at Junction 4. And that's after an accident which cleared. The M5Q still there, barrier repairs heading south, 21 Western Supermare to 22 Burnham-on-Sea with one lane closed. Warner Merchant, 5 Live Travel.
Robbie Savage's World Cup breakfast.
Shambles. What is going on with VAR?
I think we saw it.
Let's bring in our good friend Rio Ferdinand.
Up until yesterday, I think VAR has been a decent addition.
I'm against it completely, because for me football is life, and life is football, and life is full of mistakes.
Robbie Savage's World Cup breakfast. Back tomorrow from 8:30
on BBC Radio 5 Live.
The FIFA World Cup.
Live from Russia. This is 5 Live Sport with Mark Chapman.
France 0, Denmark 0 at half-time. Second half on the way, and in the other game in this group, Group C, Peru lead Australia by a goal to 0. France and Denmark progressing to the last 16. Away from the World Cup, Johanna Konta's in action on day 2 of Eastbourne. Eleanor Oldroyd is there.
Hello, chappers. Another day of clear blue skies and sunburnt shoulders down here on the south coast, and Johanna Konta is looking in decent form. She reached the semi-final here last year and then the semi-final at Wimbledon, and then had horribly inconsistent years since then. But she took the first set here against Alexandra Krunic of Serbia. 6-1, lengthy timeout for injury then for Krunic, which unsettled Konta a bit, but she's broken in the second set. She's 4-2 up as the seagulls just flutter around here, and Petra Kvitova also through to the third round, but 21-year-old Harriet Dart of Great Britain lost in the second round here.
And BBC Two, Connected TV and online for the tennis. The WBA has ordered Anthony Joshua to confirm a date for a fight against the mandatory challenger Alexander Povetkin of Russia. It'll affect Joshua's plans for a unification fight with the American Deontay Wilder, though that hasn't yet been confirmed. The former Ireland scrum half Peter Stringer has retired from rugby union at the age of 40. And on 5 Live Sports Extra right now, you can listen to day 2 of the county championship match between the leaders Surrey and Yorkshire. Now, don't forget to download the World Cup Daily podcast. If you subscribe to it, you'll get a new one waiting for you every morning. Tomorrow, you'll be able to hear Danny Rose on Harry Kane.
He's a bad neighbour.
Bad neighbour?
I'll give you that, yeah. We used to live on the same street. I was there first, and I think it's only right if I was there first I should be asked round for a cup of tea. Seeing as I'm a northerner, and not once did he ever ask me around for a cup of tea. So, for those of you who don't know, I'd say Harry's a bad neighbour.
Noisy neighbour, or just not invited? Was it just that first moment? Everything else has been all right, or was you got off on a bad foot there? Obviously,
yeah, we got off on a bad foot, and I've had to move. So, yeah, I've moved to a different area now, so I'm away from him.
I mean, is he walking taller now he's captain? Do you see any difference in him at all? Same bloke?
No, he's the same person. Obviously, I see him every day at my club, and I get to see how he works, how hard he works, how he eats, the preparation for matches. If we ever have a problem or a question, we go to Harry. He's the first one who'll want to go and ask to try and solve any of the players' issues. One day when he did his ankle towards the end of the season, I gave him a lift home from training, and on the way back we spoke about just how he is and how he's got his mindset, and it's scary how hungry he is, and it's going to be very exciting to see the records he's going to break, not only in this competition but in the Premier League and, for his country. And, I feel very lucky to, share a change room with him, share the pitch with him, and, he deserves everything that he gets, all the plaudits, all the goals, assists, the armbands at Tottenham and here, and, long may it continue.
Danny Rose speaking to our reporter Steve Crossman, who was in the England camp in Rapinoe. The other thing that Danny Rose was talking to you about, I think, was whether his family will come out to Russia or not, Steve.
Yeah, so obviously before the tournament, he said that because of the reputation of Russia and the fear of racial abuse, that he would be telling his family to stay at home. But obviously he's been here a couple of weeks now, and he told me that even though they are in a bit of a bubble in this hotel, and to be honest, the part of Russia we're in doesn't even feel like Russia. It's very different to Moscow. But he said the way that people have been with him, he's now reconsidered that, and the exact word he used was open. He said he's now open to his family coming out here, but he did say for that to happen, 1, England would have to go far, and 2, he'd actually have to be in the team, because he doesn't want them to come out just to see him sit on the bench.
I thought that the interesting thing, Terry Butcher, as a former England captain there, was we can go to Harry Kane with any problem and then he will take it on. He will want to try and solve it with the management.
Yeah, that's good. That's what captains are for. Day-to-day stuff in the clubs and that sort of thing, they do a lot more than they would do on a pitch. And just toss the corner and decide what end you want. But he's very good. It shows maturity as well. When he said he's hungry, he's got his own chef, so he shouldn't be too hungry, but no, I think he's remarkable. He's one of these guys. When you first see him, when you first saw him burst into the scene, you think, I think that bubble might burst. So he hasn't got pace, he hasn't got this. But what he does have far outweighs his negatives. His pluses are extraordinary, and he's growing into the role, and he'll grow into the England captaincy role as well.
I know, Steve, you spoke to Gareth Southgate as well today. Anything from that?
Yeah, interesting line when he talked about Harry Kane, and he was basically asked the question, whether or not Harry Kane is going to start in the final game. And his answer was interesting because he basically said, Harry Kane understands that this is about the team, etc., etc. And I think the way some people have interpreted it is that he's kind of hinted that Kane might not start. I think that might be pushing it slightly too far. But I think based on what he said, you wouldn't be amazed if Harry Kane didn't start in that final game against Belgium. But then again, obviously with the second round to come and them already being through, it wouldn't be a surprise anyway if Harry Kane didn't start. But yeah, I mean, listen, we get the impression he's not going to do what Roberto Martinez is claiming, which is make 10 outfield changes.
Steve, thank you very much. So let's return to our Group C games, with Peru leading Australia by 1-0, and they're just underway in Moscow in the Luzhniki Stadium. Goalless between France and Denmark. Here are Dion Dublin and Conor McNamara.
Thank you very much, Mark. Yeah, that was a poor first half. We'll hope for better here in the second period. No changes in personnel as things stand. France going through as group winners in Group C, and Denmark will be joining them in the last 16 as runners-up. Throw in left full-back for the Danes. Jens Stryger Larsen tries to get it up towards the edge of the French penalty area, and N'Golo Kante lunges in, prods the ball back into the Danish half, where Matthias Jorgensen, known as Zanka with Huddersfield, just helps it back to Kasper Schmeichel, whose clearance straight down the middle is then headed by Stephen Nzonzi and out of play on the far side. I was just perusing some of the stats there, Dion Dublin, at half-time. The one that stood out for me is that in that opening 45 minutes, Antoine Griezmann failed to complete a pass to Olivier Giroud, which says enough. Those two up front, they didn't pass to each other once.
And normally that's what they look for. They look for that kind of combination of 1-2s in and around Giroud's feet. And yeah, he's not really had any effect on this game at all. I'm expecting better from him in the next 45. And you know what? I'm expecting more from all of them out there, because they really didn't show me anything in the first half. Both keepers have got a spotlessly clean kit.
Yeah. France came into this game knowing that they were already through to the last 16. The question is, will they top the group? And a draw will be enough to see them do that. Didier Deschamps made 6 changes. Steve Mandanda, one of them, the goalkeeper. First time that he's played at a major tournament. He's been on the bench for a whole succession of tournaments in the past without ever coming on. He was on the bench at Euro 2008, the 2010 World Cup, Euro 2012, Euro 2016, and then the opening 2 games of this World Cup in 2018. And finally, at the age of 33, he gets to play at a major tournament for France. I'll run down through the rest of the teams in just a moment when the ball goes dead. But this is Luca Hernandez, left-hand side for France, onto Thomas Lemar. He's one of the 6 changes. Griezmann hovering around 10 yards in front of them, but it's back infield to N'Golo Kante here, who tries to just stab it forward. Zanka gets up and wins a header, and then the loose ball falls to Griezmann on the far side. It's a chance to steady himself, plays it in just too high for Dembele. Giroud went to ground, referee blew the whistle, said that Giroud was fouling the defender, and that's a free kick to Denmark.
Yeah, I wasn't sure which way the referee was going to give that one, actually. Yeah, we haven't seen the replay yet, but Griezmann there on the left-hand side, just leaving it in that area, hopefully, or asking Olivier Giroud to get on the end of it, but the referee got it right. They're both pulling each other's shirts there, Giroud and the big Jorgensen. He's having a chat with the referee now, Giroud.
So Kasper Schmeichel, the Denmark goalkeeper, back 4. Dalsgaard of Brentford, Kerr, Christensen of Chelsea, Striger Larsen. 3 in the midfield with Thomas Delaney, Matthias Jorgensen and Christian Eriksen. And then Sisto, Cornelius and Braithwaite are the front 3. Cornelius is the very much centre forward, but he's not had much to get onto. He's almost been more of a provider than a target man getting on the end of crosses in this game so far, which has not been a good match. It's been one of the more disappointing ones of this World Cup, and I guess it had to happen some stage, Dion. We'd get a game that wasn't thrilling, but of course there's a long way to go.
Yeah, we've got a good 42 minutes now. Come on, lads, give us a game, give us a shot, give us something, because I don't want to be part of a commentary team that has the worst game at World Cup 2018.
Possession with Zanka, plays it forward for Denmark. N'Golo Kante, so good at those interceptions, wins it for France, gives it up to Antoine Griezmann. 3 defenders around him immediately. Last touch there came off Delaney, I thought, but the referee says the throw-in will be for Denmark. I think he's saying it went back off Griezmann again after he challenged him. Griezmann's not happy with that decision. Throw-in for Denmark. Both teams going through as things stand, with Australia set to be bottom of the group because they trail 1-0 to Peru.
There was a split second there when Sidibe went flying past Griezmann, just behind him, and if Griezmann still a little bit of a back heel, he would have been on his way on a one-on-one. Instead, Griezmann trying to keep hold of the ball.
Free kick to France, foul on N'Golo Kante. Denmark need to fall back into a defensive formation here and bring bodies back behind the ball. Now, there's going to be a very early change here in this second half. We've only played 4 minutes since the restart, and France are making a change, and the man who's going to come on is Manchester City's Benjamin Mendy. He's very much become a cult hero at Manchester City. At that bad injury, I mean, he was flying at the start of the campaign, wasn't he? Bad injury, just came back in the final few games of the season, did enough to impress Deschamps that he should be in this World Cup squad, and here he is coming on for the first time of the tournament, taking the place of Luca Hernandez, who looks like he's picked up a knock. Dion.
Yeah, just as the players were coming out for the second half, I did see Deschamps said to Mendy, gestured as if to say, go and warm up, you're going on. Why he wasn't ready to come on at the second half, I've no idea, but he actually said, go and get yourself warmed up. He took the fitness coach with him, and he's been warming up for the first 3 or 4 minutes of this half. He's now ready to go. Let's hope he can affect the game.
He seems to be quite a character, doesn't he, Benjamin Mendy? I've never met him, but on social media and stuff, he likes to play up. He's got that shark thing, doesn't he, where he likes to call Manchester City the shark team. And here he is on the big stage at the World Cup and playing at left back So the French defence now, Djibril Sidibe at right back, Benjamin Mendy of Manchester City left back, Kimpembe, who's only played twice for France before today, alongside Varane in the centre. Then N'Golo Kante, joined by Nzonzi as a shot from a long way out from Griezmann isn't troubling Schmeichel. The attacking midfield three, if you like, for the French. Dembele one side, Lamar the other, Griezmann in the number 10 role, and Olivier Giroud, 31 international goals for him. He leads the line up front.
Yeah, there's still a lot of talent out there, both for France and Denmark, but none of it really is taking this game by the scruff of the neck.
Yeah, what we would give for a bit of VAR controversy. Something to talk about, something to liven this up. It'll be lively later on tonight, that'll be sure. Nigeria against Argentina, 7 p.m. kickoff UK time. John Murray, our correspondent, alongside Chris Waddle for that one. We'll have the big build-up. Tim Vickery giving us the South American view. Peter Odom-Wingy, who's got his ear in the Nigerian camp. That's the big game as well tonight on BBC One television, but you can listen to it here on 5 Live as well. Nigeria against Argentina. What do you think, Dion? Is he going to show up tonight?
You know what? I wish if Messi was on the bench now, get him on, please. Liven this game up, please. I think Messi he'll sparkle sooner or later.
This is Thomas Lemar on the attack for France. Gives it out to Benjamin Mendy. First chance we've seen him with the ball in possession. Oh, it's a great pass into Griezmann in the box. Griezmann tries to play it back to Lemar, and he just couldn't deliver it, and he battles hard to win back possession again. But Denmark are going to clear it away. Martin Braithwaite back helping out of the defence in a right back position. Gives it up to Cornelius, who's surely fouled there by Kimpembe, and that will be a free kick to Denmark, and the referee's going to have a word with the Paris Saint-Germain player.
Yeah, Mendy actually going down the left wing, and he actually picked out Giroud. Now Giroud gets across his defender, he's sort of level with the penalty spot. He looks like he's going to control it, but then he lifts his left foot up, he lets it go through him, and I don't think Griezmann was set to take the ball at his feet. He had it, he gave it away, should have done better.
We've played 7 minutes in the second half. The French tricolours are waving in the air in Moscow. France going through as group winners as things stand, but this could be interesting. A goal at Sochi, Ian Brown.
It seems as though Australia are heading out of the World Cup, because it's now Australia 0, Peru 2. And big news across South America that Paulo Guerrero, the man whose drugs ban was frozen to allow him to participate in the World Cup, has scored the second goal for Peru. A loose ball inside the penalty area. He pounced on it beautifully with his right foot to hook it beyond goalkeeper Matt Ryan. It's Australia 0, Peru 2, 6 minutes into the second half.
Right, well that is good news for Denmark here. With Peru having that cushion now, even if the Danes were to lose this game, they can still go through to the last 16. It's probably not going to make this game much better, Dion, by the way. They'll be aware of that. They can relax a little bit. But let's see what Christian Eriksen can do here. He's got a free kick. It's a long way out. This is nearly 20 yards outside the penalty area. And surely he's just going to dink this. But he's lining up as if he's going to lash it. Here he comes, Eriksen. He does lash it. He shoots. It bounces off the goalkeeper. Cornelius was following it up. And Mandanda recovered to smother the ball.
Exactly what he wanted to do there. Eriksen just making sure he hits the target. He didn't want to hit the goal or the keeper full. He wanted it to bounce first. He bounced in front of Mandanda. Mandanda just dropped it. He recovered the second ball, but just wanted to cause a bit of controversy in that box there. Eriksen, very good, very clever free kick.
So Mandanda, who's not been very busy in his first appearance at a major tournament, and he must have been thinking there's no way Christian Eriksen's going to shoot from that far out, but he did, and Mandanda wasn't able to hold it.
Yeah, it was purposely done. I think if Eriksen was going for goal, he would have put a bit more behind it, but
here's a chance. Lamar just outside the penalty area, couldn't get the room to shoot. Good blocking by Thomas Delaney. Denmark regained possession. Sisto's going to try and dribble his way out of trouble, and passes it away from Dembele, and Dalsgaard up to the halfway line finds his pass cut out by Benjamin Mendy. So France come again. N'Golo Kante of Chelsea into Sevilla's Steven Nzonzi. Now there's room for the right back, Sidibe, who's up to within 10 yards of the Denmark penalty area. He's got Thomas Lemar with him. Lemar, who's wandering a bit from that left wing position. He's popping up more centrally at the moment. Dembele's moved over to the left hand side now, where he can work in tandem with Benjamin Mendy, the Manchester City left back, who's come on. Here is Nzonzi, 15 yards outside the box, onto Dembele, can't make it stick. Eriksen nips in, picks his pocket, wins back possession for Denmark. Dalsgaard will clear it away, but again they don't keep it, and they continue to just give the ball back to France.
Yes, it's they launched it up the field there, and I think they were right to do so, but Kimpembe there just blocking the run. I'm not sure who the run was made by, but completely blocking him off the ball there. The referee sees it. You know, he catches the forward right in his face, and unnecessary there. Could have picked up a yellow card.
And so we've got a break in play here due to some treatment being required by one of the Danish players. Reminder, Nigeria against Argentina comes up later on this evening. We'll be building up to that from 6:30 here on 5 Live. Tomorrow, South Korea against Germany and Serbia against Brazil. Those two games coming up at tomorrow. 7 p.m. kickoff, Serbia against Brazil. But here, France are going through as group winners of Group C as things stand, and it's going to require a Danish goal without reply to deny Didier Deschamps' team a win in the group. How bothered do you think he would be about a draw? How much would he want to say, right, we've played 3-1-3? Does that matter at this stage?
It can, for the psychology of the footballers and of the players out there on the pitch. Just that winning mentality, stay with it, don't drop your guard, don't drop your standards, you know, want to win every game. It doesn't look like they're pushing too many men forward here, both teams, to be honest with you, but maybe he's going to be qualifying, but you just want to see a little bit more. They'll want to win it. It's always good to go into games on the back of a win.
Yeah, and those 6 changes that Deschamps has made. Mendy's come on as well as a substitute. I mean, they'll want to impress to get in the team now in the knockout stages. Kimpembe plays the ball forward. Christian header though by Stryger Larsen. And that's back to Kasper Schmeichel, whose dad is here watching him in Moscow.
Yes, he is. I've just seen on the monitor there my old friend, Mr. Peter Schmeichel there, sat next to, I think it might have been...
Was it Lothar Matthäus?
Lothar Matthäus,
I thought so, yeah. I only saw the corner of my eye, I think it was Lothar Matthäus.
Yes.
All the big dignitaries are here. The Russian Prime Minister, Dmitry Medvedev, is here. Big security fuss around him. As Mandanda collects possession inside the French penalty area, away to our left-hand side. 5 Live from the BBC. Almost an hour played at the Luzhniki Stadium. This is where the final is going to be played. 0-0. It's not been good stuff so far. And we've never said that at this World Cup. There's not been a bad game, but this is poor.
Here we go. Here comes. There's a goal coming. Here we come. Come on. Next 5 minutes. Here's a goal. Right. I know there will be.
Curse
come
of
on,
the
boys.
commentator. This is definitely going to finish 0-0.
No chance. No chance.
That's going to help. Turn it around in our favour here as Sidibe, it's not the greatest back pass. Mandanda comes scorching out of his penalty area to clear. Cornelius was hoping that he might get there. Denmark play a little 1-2. Stryger Larsen onto Sisto. Here we go, come on, a game of football's going to break out. Sisto down the left wing, cuts in field of Sidibe, floats it into the penalty area. Cornelius was his target. Kimpembe won the header. France haven't fully cleared it away yet though. Chance, Eriksson shoots and it's wide. That was the moment. That is the man they wanted that chance to fall to, and Christian Eriksen doesn't hit the target.
Oh my word, I can't believe that Eriksen hasn't hit the target. The ball bounces lovely for him in the D. It bounces across his left foot onto his right. All he's got to do is strike that with his laces, and he doesn't catch it sweetly. Come on, please give us something. Come on.
Dion Dublin urging a goal just for a moment there. This dull game sprung into life with that attacking movement down the left wing from the Danes. And let's see, does that inspire the French now? Maybe a wake-up call for them that they've got to be a little bit more forthcoming. Mind you, Mendy's just miscontrolled the ball on the far side, and unforced error means a throw-in. Change coming for Denmark. They're going to bring on a man who we know from the Premier League. Fisher is going to come on for Denmark. While they make that change, let's get the latest in the game taking place right now at Sochi. Australia, Peru, Ian Brown.
It's still Australia 0, Peru 2. We played 58 minutes. A double change by Australia. Some down under will say too late really, but Tim Cahill is on to play in his 4th World Cup finals. He came on for Zurich at the age of 38. Tim Cahill, one of the oldest players in the tournament, and Daniel Arzani has come off the bench as well for Australia at 19. He's the youngest player in the tournament. They've got a lot to do. They have to score 3 goals to win this game to stay in the competition, and that's also relying on France scoring in your game. I don't think it's going to happen. Australia 0, Peru 2.
Yeah, thanks very much, Ian. The draw here between France and Denmark would be enough to send both through, France as group winners, but it's not really going to matter for either of them anyway if Australia don't manage to score the 3 goals as Ian illustrated there. Victor Fisher has come on for Denmark. He's taken the place of Pino Sisto, the Celta Vigo forward, who's, he's skillful, he's pacey, he's sort of unpredictable, but we didn't get to see much of him in this game.
No, he's had a lot of the ball actually, and I was expecting him to sort of spring to life, and he sort of goes to do something and then he turns back and sort of disappoints you. You want to see a bit of skill, you want to see him go by players, and we all know he can do it, but he's not really shown anything in the first sort of 60 minutes gone.
Yeah, Victor Fischer, who's come on, now back playing with Copenhagen. He briefly played with Middlesbrough. Sort of one of those players of no real recollection. I know he was in the squad. I think he only played a handful of times for Middlesbrough. But he's come on. He's a winger. Cornelius, the centre forward, Braithwaite on the other side. But can they provide a spark, Denmark, that, remember, could yet see them win this group? A header at the back by Zanka. Going to be controlled here by Kerr. Referee blows the whistle. Foul on Delaney. Free kick to Denmark. Bang on the halfway line. Dion Dublin.
Yeah, that's Kante there. Just nipping in. That's what he does. He plays on the shoulders of the opposition midfield player. And he just nips in. He just times it absolutely spot on most of the time. Got it wrong that time, but he must be a nightmare to play against. He's everywhere. Like we say, whenever we've watched him now, we've watched the first 2 France games, and it's like there's 2 Kantes out there all the time. He's that good and that effective.
Yep, Chelsea fans voted him their player of the year this season. Once again, he made more interceptions than any other player in the Premier League. I think that's 3 years in a row now he's held those particular statistics. Denmark come on the attack with Fischer, who's just come on, trying to get a little bit of space over there. And is he going to win a corner? He is. Corner to Denmark here with 62 minutes on the clock in Moscow, and the Danish supporters who are behind that goal that their team are attacking, they're all up on their feet. I don't think any of them have sat down right from kickoff, and it's not been an edge of your seat sort of game, but they are willing their team to get the goal here and a win in Moscow against the French.
You know what, I'd like to see an in-swinging corner. I mean, Eriksen's taken all the corners, all been out-swing. I'd like to see what Mandanda's like on an in-swinger, taking the pressure off the keeper here. Change it up. Yeah,
Mandanda's not been tested in the game so far to any great effect. There was the long-range free kick from Christian Eriksen that he spilled. Let's see if Denmark can put him under pressure here. Eriksen waits. White boots. Far side of the pitch from us. The right as Denmark come forward. Here it comes. Right-footed. In it comes. Good goalkeeping. Long, strong punch from Mandanda. Pumped back in by Fischer. Hits one of his own teammates. Repels away outside the box. And a chance of a counter-attack now for the French. Dembele picks it up. Now he's got real gas. Scurries away down the left wing. Mendy's made an overlapping run. Here's the ball intended for Mendy. Cut out by Dalsgaard. And Denmark will clear it away.
So disappointing there. Dembele coming inside, allowing some space behind him. Mendy goes on the overlap, and he just has to roll it with a side foot. Don't try and do anything too flash, no look passes, and he gives the ball away. It's so frustrating. Oh my word, what am I seeing?
That's the worst pass. That is the worst pass of the World Cup. Thomas Lemar, the new Atletico Madrid signing, has passed the ball to a ghost. He thought there was someone left full-back position. It's just gone straight out of play. And I mean, he's such a good player. That was ridiculous.
Yes, and normally as a player, you'd be looking down at the ground thinking, that's it, a bobble. There's no bobbles on these pitches, I'm afraid. They're like carpets. Sorry, Lemar. Can't get out of that one.
Absolutely no chance. The Danish coach, by the way, Åge Hareide, the Norwegian, who played for Manchester City and Norwich briefly back in his playing days. He does like to ruffle feathers. I remember the playoffs to get to the World Cup when the Danes beat the Republic of Ireland, and at the end of the game he publicly thanked Martin O'Neill. He said his tactics were so poor, thank you very much, Martin, which, you know, was that really necessary? But that's what he does. He's been, you know, the stuff he said about the French before, he said they're nothing special, they lack leadership. I presume this is all mind games or whatever from Hareide.
It's got to be, isn't it? He's just he's trying to get a reaction. He's trying to ruffle those feathers just to try and take them out their stride. Not working today, I'm afraid. French have been in control most of the time.
Yeah, he said that France are a team of individuals, and the front page of L'Equipe today was that they just went L'Equipe, which is the name of the paper, and it was the name of the splash headline, which is saying they'll be a team today. Well, France have not set the World Cup alight with this performance. They have beaten Australia, they have beaten Peru, and at the moment 0-0 here at the Luzhniki Stadium in Moscow. 25 minutes to go as the ball is pumped forward for Denmark by Delaney, looking for Striger Larsen, who's absolutely walloped to the back by Raphael Varane there, stooping across him to head the ball out of play. And I think Striger Larsen's come up the worst of that. He's still down on the deck.
Yeah, he is. He's just got I think it's Varane there, gets well above Larsen there, catches him in the back of the head. Larsen stays down, just a bit dazed, but a few seconds before that, Giroud's getting the ball into feet, he's holding it up, he's waiting for support, he lays it off, he's reliable, like I've been saying all the time, he's reliable, gives it to one of his teammates, they give it away, and he's waving his arms about, he's clapping his hands in frustration, saying, come on boys, support me, get to me quicker, be reliable like I'm being for you. It must be so frustrating for him today.
0-0 here in 5 Live. France knew they were going through anyway. At the moment they're going through as group winners. And if you're just tuning away here on 5 Live, it'll be Denmark joining them in the last 16, unless there's major developments in Sochi. But Denmark almost there. They've got 1 foot in the knockout stages right now. 0-0 it is. It's not been a good game, but there's plenty of flair players. We've got Antoine Griezmann, we've got Christian Eriksen. I mean, there could still be some thunderbolts from the blue here.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent out there, but this game is summed up by a picture I've just seen on my screen. Deschamps sat back, legs folded, arms folded, as calm as you like. It's just like the game, there's nothing really happening, no spark.
Yeah, Denmark on the attack, right hand side, chance to cross it in by Dalsgaard, hits the first defender, and Lamar on the far side manages to keep it in play. Now Giroud might have a problem here. He's lunged for the ball with Simon Kjær. He's spilled off the pitch, and he's okay. He's hobbling, he's jumping up and down, but he's going to be okay, I'm sure. It's interesting that he was off the pitch. I think if he was on the pitch, he'd have gone down there, but because he was off the pitch, he thought, well, they're not going to stop play from me here, so he sort of hobbled back on again.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where, you know, you get there at the same time as your defender, and you're sort of reaching. I think what he might have done, he might have reached with his left foot, got there, and then sort of rocked his ankle slightly. Might have just opened up his ligaments there in his left, the outside of his left ankle. He's just trying to run it off, which is the best thing. He has stopped though, pretty suddenly, looking uncomfortable.
Brilliant World Cup so far. This is a terrible game. 0-0 in Moscow. Denmark just giving the ball back to Mandanda, and it's got the feeler where they know 0-0. They're both going through anyway. Yes. It just doesn't have the jeopardy.
No, it doesn't, and you know, they're both not obviously wanting to lose this game. Nobody's really going all out to win it either. You know, I just think they're happy. They'll go through to the next round. They've done what they've got to do, and you know, I don't think the manager will be too bothered either. They've done the job, they've won 2 games, and they're happy.
Into the final quarter of the game now. Lamar pushes it in front of Mendy. Now this should be a chance. Mendy with an opportunity to look up, brings it to the byline, floats in the cross, too high for Dembele, and N'Golo Kante's arriving on the edge, and the whistle is blown. Griezmann tangled with the defender in there, Delaney, and Griezmann's obviously fouled him, and the referee says that will be a free kick to Denmark.
Yeah, it's got to give your centre forward, give your players getting in the box a much better chance of scoring. Mendy goes down the left hand side. He's got all the time in the world to pick out a player, pick it up. He waits and he waits. By the time the ball comes in, all the runs have been done. All the runs have done, all the spark in the run of the players getting in the box, it's been done. He delays, the ball goes over the top of all the players, doesn't give his team a chance to score.
Right, Griezmann's been hooked. France taking him off and wrapping him up in cotton wool for the knockout stages. And on comes Nabil Fekir, the Lyon forward, who's been linked all summer long with a move to Liverpool. At one stage he was looked like that deal was done and dusted. He was going to be Coutinho's replacement, but that deal off again. 24 years of age, comes on for his 15th cap. A man who's been Lyon's captain this past season, and he's come on in place of Griezmann. So it's Giroud, Lamar, Fekir and Dembele as a front four for France. Will they get the goal though? And another break in play coming here. A Danish player, I think it's Stryger Larsen, is a little bit like Giroud a moment ago, but he's been injured off the field of play. He's motionless at the moment. He's in the technical area, and I'm not quite sure what's happened to him there, but the way he fell off the pitch, he was sort of shoulder charged by Dembele. For a moment I thought he must have hit something, but he hasn't. He's just fallen into a heap inside the technical area, and because he's off the field of play, doesn't need to stop. Medical team are giving him treatment. Denmark temporarily down to 10 men.
Yeah, he's just been nudged off the pitch there in mid-flight, and he's landed directly on his hip. He's up on his feet now, and he's jogging again. They can be painful, those ones.
Here is Sidibé, plays it in field, poor pass behind Nzonzi. Kimpembe will pick it up for France, and he sends it out into a little bit of space on the far side. And Dembele, and now a chance for Fekir to shoot, and he hits the side netting. He's only just come on. That is one of the best shots of the game, and many of the French fans thought for a moment it was in. They saw the net furl, but it was the outside of the side netting from Nabil Fekir.
Yes, where have you been all our life? We want more of that, please. He's received it on what I like to call the corner box, right on the corner of the 18-yard. He's turned, set himself on his left foot. Just a little bit of urgency there, you know, wanting to score, making the keeper make a save.
Yeah, Fekir, sort of similar player, I think, to Payet, Dimitri Payet, who's injured and not in the squad. He's got that sort of stocky build, he's creative, he's powerful, and that was a shot that threatened to liven up what has been dull proceedings here at the Luzhniki Stadium. 0-0 on 5.
At least that will put a doubt in Denmark's mind now, allowing France to score. That was a clash right there, actually, quite a dangerous one too.
Another clash. Delaney's down injured now. It's just been a stop-start game. There's been no flow. While we've another break in play, Dean, I wanted to ask you about Fabian Delph, who, the story that his wife is due to give birth. They think it's going to happen on Friday. You never know with these things. England play Belgium on Thursday.
Yes.
You're a professional footballer. You're at the World Cup. What do you do? Are you tempted to go home? What would you do?
I am possibly getting on the first flight home to watch my child being born, I'm afraid. Delph will possibly do that. I definitely want to go home, without a doubt.
Yeah, more of that to be debated on 5 Live Sport later on tonight. Fabian Delph, as far as we know, still in Russia. England playing Belgium on Thursday. Both teams already assured of going through. And by the way, there's nothing happening in the game here. Now that we've sort of had more time to think about this, do you want England to win the group, runners up? What's your latest view on it now? Do you think just keep the winning momentum going?
Absolutely, Connor. Win. Keep the mentality. Keep the boys in high spirits. Don't try and preempt what's going to happen, who you're going to play. Keep winning games. Keep playing a winning team.
Christian Eriksen loses the ball, then cleverly wins it back again right on the edge of the French penalty area. Little side back heel into the box. He was trying to pick out Fisher, it didn't go through, but Delaney now, chance to cross on the left hand side, has to ride a challenge of the defender down there, Sidibe, and it was a strong challenge from the Monaco right back. And I think Delaney, well, he's okay, he's back up, but he's hurt himself there. He's twisted his elbow or something, but he's back up on his feet.
Yeah, that's better play, quicker. Delaney there, Fisher, Eriksen, just quick fire triangles, getting in behind the France defence. So much better. When they do that, you can see them try to create a chance, and then they slow it down again, and it all goes, and the bubbles burst on that move.
Yeah, so at the moment, France are going through as group winners. They would play the runners-up of Group D. That's the Argentina, Iceland, Nigeria, Croatia group. That comes to a conclusion later on this evening. We've got Nigeria against Argentina, 7 o'clock kickoff, full commentary here on 5 Live. But France will play the runner-up in that group, who at the moment would be Nigeria. But that can change if Lionel Messi's got his shooting boots on tonight. Varane's possession 10 yards outside the French penalty area. And it's been in a World Cup that has lit everything up, and we've found it a complete joy, and you can't take your eye off it. This has been a poor game.
Yes, it's by far our poorest game, and the World Cup's poorest game, I'd have thought.
Remember, we still haven't had a 0-0 at this tournament. There are 17 minutes of normal time to go here for someone to break the deadlock and keep that statistic going. This is Dembele. Down the right hand side, cuts in field, he's on his left boot, he's trying to pick out Fekir at the far side, but Dalsgaard with a stooping header puts it out of play. Throw into France midway inside the Danish half. Yeah, I was watching France come out in the second half, and Nzonzi was stood next to Kante. Wow. Olivier Giroud's got to be 6'3", 6'4". Nzonzi was bigger than Olivier Giroud, stood next to Kante, who's an absolute midget. Here's Mendy, sends it in, Giroud's header, and it's across the face of goal and not threatening Kasper Schmeichel's net. I'm not sure, have we actually seen the keeper dive and make a save yet? Have we? I don't think we have we? I think there's only been about 2 shots on target, and they weren't threatening, were they? No, not at all. No. Mandanda there had the free kick from Eriksen. Eriksen should have scored. I mean, that was the chance. He's in the D. He's got a clear side of. He was closer than in the D. He was in the box. Clear side of goal on his right boot. Pick your spot, and he put it wide. Has to score. Has to hit the target, and that's really the only clear-cut chance. Keeper should have had to made a save. Didn't as well. Never known that of Eriksen not to hit the target. Another change being instructed now down in the technical area. Kasper Dolberg is about to come on. Now, he's a striker. Plays his club football in Holland with Ajax. And he is going to come on here, and we wait to see who's going off. It's Cornelius. Cornelius, the former Cardiff City striker, 4 international goals to his name. Didn't get a sniff of a chance today, though. He goes off. Dolberg, who's not as tall, but sort of a younger, fresher version, he will come on now for these closing quarter of an hour or so. Yeah, Vincent Tan's words, not mine. The Toyota goes off. Let's hope there's a Bentley coming on. So, here we go then. Can there be an exciting twist to this game? Dolberg, Fisher and Braithwaite now the attacking front three for Denmark. I mean, you think of some of the names they've had over the years, the Laudrups and all these fellas, and even Nicholas Bentner in his prime or whatever, but they don't have any household name strikers these days, and Christian Eriksen is carrying quite a weight on those diminutive shoulders of his.
Yeah, you can see as well the players, you know, when they do have the ball, that their first thought is get it to Eriksen and he'll make something happen, but it's not happened for anybody out there today. It's not happened for us in the commentary box. We've had nothing to say about this dull affair, but you know, how long have we got left? Let's have a look at the clock here. 15 minutes left.
Long ball played forward. Delaney's made a good run. Kimpembe jumps on the edge of the penalty area. Can only head it down to Christian Eriksen, whose first touch took it away from him. He'll run after it into the penalty area, but Mandanda gets there first, and right-footed, he clears the ball away. Dembele picks it up for France. 10 yards inside his own half. He's fouled, but he smuggles it on to Lamar. Referee waves both arms in the air to say play on. This is Fekir, edge of the penalty area for France. Dalsgaard comes across, wins possession for Denmark, swivels to the corner flag and clears it out for a throw.
Yeah, that's great defending there. Really good defending. Fekir was favourite, but he didn't get there. Great defending. Dalsgaard, good strength.
Yeah, here's Dolberg down the other end. So they've got Dalsgaard at right back, they've got Dolberg up front. Denmark holding France 0-0 here in the Luzhniki Stadium in Moscow for now. Delaney has possession inside the centre circle, and the crowd at the moment are booing. And I think this is almost like, do you remember that famous game in the 1974 World Cup where they both just, you know, stopped attacking? 82 was it when that happened, and it was just like, right, you have the ball, we'll have the ball. And there's almost ironic cheers now as Stryker Larsen comes down the left-hand side and looks like he might be on the attack. Braithwaite here, little backheel behind Stryker Larsen. France should nip in and get it back here. They will do with N'Golo Kante. Rides a challenge well, but gives it away to Delaney. And here is Christensen into the centre circle. There's now ironic cheers of every pass. It's like Denmark are 4-0 up or something. They're cheering. Germany, Austria, the 82 World Cup. That was the one where they just turned it into a dead rubber and refused to play against each other.
This is brilliant. This is brilliant. Now every time
cheering every pass.
It's right. It's at the centre halves at the moment. They're just passing to each other along the halfway line, and the fans are going.
There's Dolberg with a terrible touch, just knees it out. I mean, it's an appalling game. It's so bad. Ian Brown, anything more entertaining happening in Sochi?
Well, yes, they're passing the ball accurately to one another for a start. It's Australia 0, Peru 2. That is still the score. I think the Australians would be very unhappy with what's going on at your game were they to be in front here, but it's not going their way at all. The goals from Carrillo and Guerrero giving Peru the advantage. Australia have improved since Tim Cahill came off the bench. He's been involved a few times. He had a shot blocked from close range. Behic has fired just wide, and Azani has volleyed over the top. So the Australians not giving up, but they, like Peru, are heading out of the tournament with a 2-0 scoreline in favour of the Peruvians. And I'm told, Connor, you need a quiz question to brighten your afternoon.
Please.
Only 4 players in this World Cup were born in the 1970s. Who are they?
Oh, the Egyptian goalkeeper.
It's your era, I think.
Put him. Thank you very much. Yeah, I wish. Right, okay, we'll put our thinking caps on. As Giroud here scribbles, and if it was Johnny Wilkinson above the post, he would have been very pleased with that. But wrong sport, and that goes out for a goal kick. Dion, Tim Cahill, born in the 70s.
Tim Cahill, how old will Tim Cahill be now? Because I played with Tim Cahill at Millwall, so yes. Yes, without a doubt. Okay. He's a baby, 38. He's still got a year to go.
Who else have we got? 30, born in the 70s. You're pushing 40.
Yes, you are.
Okay, right. We'll have a think. Goalkeeper, surely. Another goalkeeper.
Who could it be? Leave it with us. Leave it with us.
Okay. Goal kick for Kasper Schmeichel, whose dad Peter is here in the stadium, and he doesn't care if an entertaining game. His son is going to keep a clean sheet by the looks of things at a World Cup, and Goalkeepers Union will always be happy with that.
Yeah, 2 keepers today that I've seen actually have to do nothing at all apart from kick the ball out or throw it. No saves to be made, no organising, not really having to come and get crosses, taking pressure off their side, because no sides had any pressure on them at all.
And throw in, right full back position, Dalsgaard gets decent distance on it. Christian Eriksen now midway inside the French half, slots it back to Thomas Delaney, out into space on the right hand side for Martin Braithwaite. Is it a quiet game? Back then to the halfway line to Dalsgaard once again, and it's become Germany-Austria. We've had so many spectacular games. It was only a matter of time, Dion Dublin, where someone was going to get a stinker, and it's the McNamara Dublin show on the receiving end of it.
It's now back with Schmeichel. Schmeichel's got the ball in his own box, and they're just cheering everything, every touch by a Danish player that they're cheering, and they've gone long and give the ball away again. When they get the ball now, either side, when the keeper has it, the opposing side are more or less all in their own half, allowing Denmark, allowing France to come forward, keep it. Oh, come on, boys, please.
So a reminder, if you are just tuning in on 5 Live, maybe you've been working today, you've not missed much with this game. Denmark 0, France 0. Australia trailing 2-0 to Peru. So regardless of what happens here, Denmark and France were going to be the ones going through. And France, who knew that they were in the last 16 before this game even kicked off. But the Danes will be celebrating at the end of 90 minutes, even if it does finish 0-0, because their participation in this World Cup continues and they will go in to the last 16.
Go on, just hold the thought, mate. Hold the fort, should I say. I'm just going to get the sweets out. This is a terrible game, isn't it?
Terrible. N'Golo Kante wins a tackle in the centre circle. Delaney lunges into him, and there's a Danish player injured inside that centre circle as well. In this stop-start game, it's been so patchy. And another Christian Eriksen has just come over there to Victor Fisher. He says, come on, get up, just get up. It's almost like Eriksen's embarrassed about this.
Yes, it's you know France have brought on Mbappe now just to play alongside Olivier Giroud. And here he is on the ball now, just to try and add a bit of spark going forward.
Mbappe, one of the most expensive players, well, apart from Neymar, the most expensive player, a very exciting youngster. But even he so far has not been able to liven this game up. France's number 10 has possession on the edge of the Denmark penalty area. Gives it out to Sidibe, crossing position on the right hand side. Back short to Mbappe, just outside the box. Cuts it across to Fekir, who fancies a goal from distance, and Schmeichel pushes it away. That was almost a moment of excitement. Schmeichel had to make a save.
Almost, Conor.
He's never got in though,
no, it wasn't. You're trying, we are really trying to bring this game to life. I've just put a sweet in my mouth. That's the only spice we've had all day, I've got to say.
I'm going to keep asking you questions now while you've got the lozenge in your mouth. Here is Kimpembe at the back. When you said you were getting sweets, I thought you were going to go to the shop there, by the way. That didn't mean you were rummaging in your bag.
If I did go to the shop, I wouldn't miss anything, I can tell you that.
I'd be worried you wouldn't come back. Here's Fekir, right-hand side of the midfield for the French. Sidibe. It's a walking pace. Varane on the halfway line, across to Kimpembe. Nobody's even challenging him. Sun blazing down on a warm afternoon in Moscow. And are we to have the first 0-0 of this World Cup as Mendy floats in across? And it's easily headed out of the box by striker Larson. That goes out for a French. Oh, it is. It's kept in play by Sidibe. Fekir now, back heel from Mbappe into the penalty area. Fekir thought he might be onto it. Mbappe gets involved again. He has livened it up a little bit since coming on. Kylian Mbappe. Now Thomas Lemar gives it to Nzonzi a bit deeper in the midfield. He's got N'Golo Kante to his right hand side and room for Sidibe. One touch to steady himself, one touch to send it into the box, but it's too high for Olivier Giroud, and Simon Kjær is able to head it away. France come again. Fekir just outside the penalty area. Mbappe tries a little round the world turn, can't get into the penalty area though. Zanka stands up strong. Denmark clear it away, and it goes out for a throw into the French.
It's just 20 yards outside Denmark's box, and Zonze's got it. And there's two banks of four. There's no pressure on the ball at all. I know they must be tired now, but there's no real pressure on the French whatsoever. They've got the ball again. Nobody's squeezing, and oh gosh,
yeah, it's poor.
It's a hard watch. It's a hard watch, this one.
Yeah, there's Mendy. Gives it back to Lemar. Lemar back out to Mendy, up in a left wing position, now into the penalty area. Giroud goes down, there's appeals for a penalty. Referee waves it away, instantly wags his finger at Olivier Giroud, says no penalty.
Close one. It's a real close one. I'm not sure if the referee's is stopping play here, and I think he may be looking back at this. We're looking at the replay here.
This referee, Sandro Ricci, has got a bit of history, because he will be in the record books forever as the referee who awarded the first ever goal awarded by Goal Line Technology. It involved France against Honduras in 2014, and that was when they had the goal line thing. Was it over the line or not? He was the referee involved in that, but no such drama here in Moscow, and it's just the most 0-0 game you've ever seen.
I'm just looking at the replay there. Giroud thinking he should have had a penalty, but he, as a centre forward, when you receive the ball, you're always trying to feel for the defender just so he can hold you up almost, and there was no defender there to hold him up. He just falls off.
Here is Dolberg, Kasper Dolberg, playing the ball in front of Victor Fisher once of Middlesbrough, easily tackled. France get it back again with Fekir on the right hand side. It was Nzonzi who won possession for the French. Fekir sets off an amazing dribble across the midfield and rolls the ball into the stride of Benjamin Mendy on the far side for France, their left. France wearing white in this game. Time running out. We're into the last 5 minutes now Surely someone's going to score the goal to keep up this record of the World Cup of every game having a goal in it. Eriksen has possession on the far side, gives it back to Henrik Dalsgaard, and the Brentford man floats it over here to the near side. It's a training game. It's an absolute training game.
If somebody or 2 or 3 players were to say, right, listen, let's just inject a little bit of life into this, you might catch the opposing team on the hop, because this is like games that I played in. This is like a training game, like you said, like one team should have the bibs on here and one team's the first team. Listen to the noise in the stadium. Everybody's booing and there's whistles and there's frustration.
There's a picture on our television screens of a young boy with his lips pursed and he's whistling and he's like, come on, this is the World Cup. I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life. I came to a World Cup game and it's been this nonsense.
Yes.
Let's nip back to Ian Brown. Actually, being in this stadium, the Luzhniki, it reminds me of the opening game when Ignashevich, Ian played, and he's 38, so he must have been born in the 70s.
Oh, I was just going to rib you for forgetting about that, but he got it. I was going to say, you commentated on him. Yeah, you've got that one. So anyway, here it's Australia 0, Peru 2. It was almost 3-0. Forrest just hit the post. Peru are coming forward again. Australia, I think, have gone physically and mentally, and they'll be heading out of the tournament. So it's still Australia 0, Peru 2. As for that 4th player who was born in the 1970s and playing in this competition, that was Marquez of Mexico. And thanks to one of our listeners for sending in that, and it does prove one thing, Connor, you still have one listener.
Yeah, indeed. Somebody is out there. Thank you very much. You can tell it's a bad game when quiz questions from listeners are dominating the commentary on Five Live, but I guess we had to have one at some stage in this World Cup. And 0-0 with 3 minutes to go in the Luzhniki, a packed Luzhniki stadium. And, you know, looking around, no one's really going to the exits. Everyone's thinking, come on, the goal is going to come. Mendy floats in across from the far side. Christensen is there to head away. People aren't leaving, Dion. You know, if this was a league game, this would be half empty by now.
Oh, yes, without a doubt. And I think the fans must be thinking, have I really paid for a ticket for this game? And look what I've been dealt.
Mendy crosses too high for Giroud. Zanka heads it away, controlled by Dolberg. Got support from Fischer here. Denmark still midway inside their own half. Delaney. I mean, there's just no urgency. Everything's a lateral pass, a backward pass.
No pressure at all on any players when they've got the ball. They're even pointing to go back. Play the ball back to your centre half. Keep it. Listen to the boos yet again. Kasper Schmeichel has it now and he kicks it more or less out of play.
Brilliant. Sums it up. So France are going through as group winners, Denmark are going through as runners-up, Peru will finish 3rd in the group, and Australia are going home rock bottom.
You know what? I think I just looked at the screen there and I think I may have seen someone asleep in the crowd. I think somebody was asleep in the crowd watching this game. That is no joke. That is unbelievable.
At a World Cup game in the stadium that will host the final, and it's sleep-worthy. Here is Lamar in the midfield. Into N'Golo Kante, walking pace here. Kimpembe onto Fekir, midway inside the Danish half. Germany, Austria, 1982. It's the nearest comparison we could give you. It's not quite as blatant as that game ridiculously became, where they just didn't even challenge each other, but we've hardly had a shot. I mean, at most there's been 3 shots on target. None of them you would have thought, oh, hang on, this is going in. I mean, they were all just at a comfortable height, comfortable pace for the goalkeeper to save.
I'm going to make a big statement here.
Here we go. Big statement coming on 5 Live. Breaking news on 5 Live from Dion Dublin.
Big statement. I think I could play in this game. It's that slow that I think I could stand out as well. At 49 years old, I could put a spark into this game with the trainers I've got on.
We came through the airport in Moscow yesterday, and Dion Dublin was given a free football. And as former professional footballers must do when they're given a football, he immediately went into the keep them up. And as you did, you said, look at this, I'm good at these.
Yes. But you know what? There's a surprising thing. I beat my record. I kept it up for 5 times. That's my new record.
Jumping for the ball there was Fischer, easily beaten by Nzonzi. Nzonzi's done well, I have to say. You know, a player who in the Premier League was never seen as a big superstar or whatever. He looks right at home here.
Yeah, you know, I like him as a player. I think he's neat and tidy. Can get himself the odd couple of goals during the season as well. Effective.
3 minutes, and then it's all over, Dion, and we can go and have a beer. I mean, this has just been terrible.
Yeah, it's going to be the highlight of the day. Normally, I'm thinking to myself, I can't wait for the game. What's getting goals today? I'm thinking to myself, when's that cold beer coming?
Every game we've done the World Cup so far, there's only 3 minutes. I wish there was. I'm enjoying it so much. Whereas here, you're going 3 minutes. Here comes Mbappe. Come on, let's have a goal. Here he goes. Mbappe into the penalty area. Tries to pull it back for Giroud, and Kerr is there to clear it away. And that might have been the moment, but no shot at the end of it.
You know what? He's sticking at his game, Olivier Giroud. He's still trying to get himself into scoring positions. The ball's not finding him. Fekir's done decent as well when he's come on. Mbappe there just trying to go through 2 or 3 players. Normally gets through, but good defending.
Come on, we want a goal. We've got a golden mic lead among a league table amongst the commentators working for 5 Live here at the World Cup. And this is not going to do our balance any good, Dion Dillon. We want a goal. I don't care if it's France or Denmark. Give us a goal.
You know what? If you listen carefully, you can hear the other commentators laughing. You can hear yes, there he is. The Chiefs laughing. John Murray is laughing at us.
Thomas Delaney is down injured, and this 3 minutes is going to be prolonged even longer now. Another injury delay. Kimpembe comes across to have a little drink. But Mbappe has livened up the French. I mean, insofar as this dead game could be enlivened, he's going to start in the latter stages. I mean, Deschamps clearly just resting him to keep him fresh for the last 16.
Just like I said, trying to put a little bit of a spark in this last sort of 10 minutes. It hasn't really happened. He will be a starter, you're right. He's a very, very good footballer. Very exciting. Give him as much ball as you possibly can when you start him. He will affect a game. He will get you end product. He'll get you goals as well. He'll get you chances as well. But in this game, nobody's really done anything like that.
So deep in stoppages, Thomas Delaney has to go off injured, and Lucas Leurior will come on. He plays in France with Bordeaux. Central midfielder replacing central midfielder. Leurior will come on for the final seconds here. Is it to be the first 0-0 of this World Cup? It has looked that way for a long time. Varane to Kimpembe. Go on, shoot! He gives it out to Mendy on the far side. Here's the cross into the penalty area. Terrible, and easily cleared away by Christensen.
Yes, the word terrible. That just sums up this game, unfortunately. 2 teams that did not want to lose, haven't really tried to win.
Mbappe's the man. My money's on him, Dion.
Yes.
Just on the edge of the penalty area.
Keep your money, please. Keep your money.
Now Mendy. I mean, no one's even putting pressure on him. But Mendy doesn't want to send it across. He's just standing on the ball. 5 yards outside the Danish penalty area. Waits for Nzonzi to come back out to Mendy. Surely now the cross comes in, but it hits the first defender, Dalsgaard, and France have an attacking throw on the left-hand side.
They're taking that long to get the ball in the box. Olivier Giroud's made a couple of runs. He finds himself outside the box now, trying to get it to feet. You know, back at Varane now, and Kimpembe's got it, and it goes all the way over the other side again. Just a DB. That is a lapse. So DB had the ball there, and he wanted to play a pass. He changed his mind, gave the ball away. But what they did is they had time on the ball. They just kicked it away.
Shocking. 0-0. Very, very 0-0. And that is how it finished. And it has taken till midway through the tournament for us to have our first scoreless draw at the World Cup. Cheers from both sides, because their tour is continuing. Both France and Denmark go into the knockout stages. Their World Cup is not over yet. Thank heavens that game is over, Dion Dublin.
You took the words right out of my mouth. This game has been incredibly poor. Both teams have got a lot more than what they showed today. France especially have got a lot more firepower. They've gone into this one not wanting to lose. They haven't lost, they haven't won. They've shown me nothing. You know what, Connor? You know when somebody's done a speech or somebody's sung an amazing song and they just hold their hand out with the mic and drop it? That's exactly what I'm going to do now. Dion Dublin is out.
And he's gone. He's gone. So Drive is coming up in 10 minutes time or so on 5 Live. From 6:30 we'll be building up to this evening's game. But you know what? In the future, someone's going to say, do you remember that game in Moscow you did? And we're not going to go, oh yeah, France-Denmark, I remember that. This is the most forgettable game of the World Cup, and thank heavens it's over. 0-0.
Can you make sure he stays, actually, Connor?
He's gone. No, I'm joking. He's here.
Can you imagine having to pay to watch? Can you imagine having to pay to watch that in that stadium? They deserve to be booed, don't they?
You know, people pay good money to watch a game of football at the World Cup, and it was very, very poor. Nobody seemed to break sweat. It was an embarrassing game. For a professional footballer, I wouldn't want this game on my CV, chappers, I can tell you.
I just don't understand, Terry Butcher, why. I mean, Denmark must have known that Australia were 2-0 down as well. So, and also, when you look at the other group and who they're going to play, surely part of you is wanting to avoid Croatia, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. I don't understand that, but you can. We saw the danger in the first half. We were saying it was going to be 0-0 in the first half, but then the game started off badly and fell away. It was just awful. I mean, Olivier Giroud was clean-shaven when he went onto the pitch. He's got a great big beard now. He's waited that long for the ball to come in the box. It's unbelievable.
But you know what, Butch? It's one of those games where, you know, if let's say you was involved in it and I was involved in it, you'd want to get hold of your teammates and give them a good shake and say, come on, lads, we're wearing our country's shirt here. Give me something. You know, blood, sweat and tears was nothing. So frustrating to watch.
Yeah, but a lot of the players as well, when it is petering out like that, especially early second half, you think, oh, here we go. They're looking after themselves. They don't want to go into tackles now and get injured because they know that both teams are through. I mean, I'm sure Denmark got the signal to say Australia are losing 2-0 now. There's no way back for them. Right, we're through. Just take it easy and just say, right, you know, forget this game and look forward to the next. And that's what we have to do, is forget this rubbish.
The better game today was between Australia and Peru, with Peru winning 2-0. Ian Brown.
Yet both these teams are out of the competition. Peru winning 2-0, and the red and white clad supporters are in raptures. All those miles travelled finally bringing some reward for the Peruvian supporters. The first goal on 18 minutes, Guerrero set up play, and then the beautifully struck skidding volley by Andre Carrillo, and then Guerrero himself, the man who had his drugs ban frozen in order to play in the World Cup, he hooked in the second goal for Peru. An emotional moment for him just after half-time. Cahill came on too late really for Australia. They did improve, even though Flores hit the post late on for the departing Peruvians, but Australia out as well.
Julien Laurent has joined Dion in the stadium, in the Luzhniki Stadium here in Moscow. Are you embarrassed by that, Julien?
Yeah, pretty much so. I think it was the worst game of the tournament so far. It was a disgrace the way they played. I know what Deschamps is going to say in a few minutes in his press conference, that, you know, the point was enough. All that matters is that they finished top of the group, which is what they wanted. However, you know, it felt like a step forward after the Peru game, especially in the first half, and now it feels like two step back at least. Even if, you know, you changed half of the team, you can then question it and saying like, well, you broke the momentum that your team got into that game, you know, from that game against Peru. He broke that by changing so many players, and you know, you have to question also the attitude of the guys who came in. Because as we said before, that was a big game for Lemar, it was a big game for Sidibé, you know, and Nzonzi, Kimpembe was probably the best of the worst, but the others, I mean, come on, Dembele was shocking, Lemar was shocking, Sidibé was shocking, and it's not good for them, it's not good for the French team either, because that takes away the competition, because now everybody knows the team that Deschamps is going to put for the last 16 and probably for the quarters if they go through and etc., because there's no competition in this team, because the guys who came in today was just not good enough.
Julian, Terry Butcher here. Do you think that because they've been flat, they were flat in the first two games, well, not so much the second game was a lot better, but because they're flat now, do you think when he puts the so-called big guns back in, do you think then that they can pick up that momentum? Because if it's flat, it's very difficult then to say, right, we've got something in our memory banks of what we did this right, we did that right, you know, let's go and do that again. Whereas it's been so flat in this game, do you not think it'll put a dampener on the squad?
Right. Yeah, you're right, and it's a big risk, and it means, you know, that Pogba wouldn't have played for 9 days between the Peru game and the last 16 game. Same for Mbappe, who only played 10 minutes today, and same with Matuidi. All those players, then you're thinking, well, maybe they could have done by playing the game today, keep that momentum, like you said, keep their confidence high, because I promise you, in the dressing room right now, even if Deschamps is happy by the point and the finish top spot in the group, some of the players won't be happy at all by what happened. Like you mentioned Olivier Giroud. He won't be happy by the game today. Griezmann was taken off again in this game. The last time he played 90 minutes for France was back in October.
Well, Julien,
Griezmann is not going to be happy either.
Matt sends a tweet that just says Griezmann's been very disappointing so far this World Cup. When you look at some of the other big names who have come to the World Cup party, then is he being left behind a little bit so far?
Yeah, I think you're right. You know, he played 60 games with Atletico Madrid. 60 games coming into this World Cup, and I think it's too much. He arrived he was tired. They sort of like did a special preparation for him before the competition. By sort of resting him and then giving him like a fitness program that would go from strength to strength. But you could see, I don't think he's sharp enough, and you could see that in the 3 games he played. And being taken off in the 70th against Australia, he was not happy. Then 80th minute against Peru, he was still not happy, and 68th today. And again, it's like that's not good enough from him. I don't think it's good enough for Deschamps not to have put him in the best environment if you want so far in this competition. And yeah, you're right. It's not good enough from him. It's very disappointing.
Phil says France and Denmark did their best to ruin the feel-good vibe of the World Cup. Zero passion, little skill, utterly devoid of ambition. Daniel, this game was embarrassing. No desire from either side. Darren, France played like 11 individuals who only met yesterday. No one is on the same wavelength. Although, Dion, for all our misgivings of this game, our dislike of this game, our criticism of both sets of teams, the Danish fans are giving the Danish players a heck of a reception in the Luzhniki.
Yeah, they are, and the Danish players have gone over and thrown a few shirts into the crowd as well. So yeah, they have had a good clap off the pitch, bit of an ovation, but I'm not sure what for, because that performance was woeful. I know that they've both done their jobs, I understand that, but as a professional footballer or a former professional footballer, I wouldn't want to go onto the field of play and play like that, regardless of what's at the end of the tunnel. You've got to do better than that.
At the moment on our monitor, Simon Kjær, the Danish captain's partner, is hugging him and in tears. I'm assuming.
I hope it's his partner.
Yes, tears of pride. I'm assuming.
I don't think it's pride. I think she's embarrassed by his performance. She said, "Come on, darling, you've got to do better than that. I'm not going to represent you at any more games if you keep throwing out performances like that."
So I can understand at the same time, whilst the neutrals and and people who love football are disappointed, that is an achievement for Denmark. It is an achievement to be in the last 16. I can understand that bit, Dion.
Yeah, I can. Listen, Chabbers, don't get me wrong, they've done their job, they've done what they had to do, but you have, there's a pride, people have paid good money to come and watch a game of football where two teams should be wanting to win it, and they've come to see it. A game today where two teams have just come out and said, right, I don't want to lose it, and it's not great on the eye. Yeah, I'm glad this one's over, Chappers, I really am. Next game, please.
All right, which is for you?
We are off to Sochi. We've got to go to Sochi, go to Samara, and then back to Sochi again. So,
Sochi for Uruguay, Portugal in the last 16. Dion?
That's it, yeah. Yep. That's the one, mate. That's the one. Listen, mate, that'll be a much better game than this one, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, one would hope. Thank you, Dion Dublin and Julia and Connor in the Luzhniki Stadium. Thank you to Terry as well here in Red Square. Still to come this evening, the conclusion of Group D. Croatia are already through, but all eyes on Nigeria against Argentina. Kelly will be here with full coverage of that game from 6:30. But now at 5 o'clock, here's Sarah Brett with Drive.
This is your World Cup station, Russia 2018. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thank you very much, chappers. It is 5 o'clock, it's 5 Live. This is Drive with Sarah Brett. Our main story.
Okay, mate, you're under arrest for suspicion of being a terrorist, am I right?
A British man born in London and trained as a plumber has been found guilty of planning a terror attack in Westminster.
In sport, France and Denmark, the latest teams to progress to the World Cup knockout stages.
And on 5 Live from 6:30, as you've been hearing all the build-up to tonight's key Group D games, including Argentina, who are battling to escape a shock exit.
This is BBC 5 Live.
First, the BBC News with Alison Acton.
A British Taliban bombmaker has been found guilty of plotting a terror attack outside Parliament. Khalid Ali planned to target MPs and police. Our reporter is Rob Watts.
The 28-year-old from North London had recently returned from Afghanistan when he was arrested in Westminster with 3 knives in his possession in April last year. The judge at the Old Bailey said only the intervention of police had prevented another murderous terror attack. Officers believed he'd helped an Al-Qaeda-affiliated group in Afghanistan make hundreds of bombs capable of mass murder.
2 men have died in a crash between a bus and a lorry on the A47 in Cambridgeshire. They were the driver of the double-decker, who was in his 50s, and a passenger in his 70s. 5 people were also seriously injured. A couple who tortured and killed their nanny have been jailed for at least 30 years each. Sabrina Khudair and Wasim Madouni were wrongly convinced that au pair Sophie Leonie was helping ex-Boyzone singer Mark Walton to abuse people in their home. The UK is calling for international weapons inspectors to have the power to assign blame for chemical attacks. The Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson has put forward the proposal at a meeting of the Global Chemical Weapons Watchdog.
At present, the OPCW's experts will say where and when an attack happened, but not who was responsible. If we are serious about upholding the ban on chemical weapons, that gap must be filled.
The idea has been opposed by Russia, Syria and Iran. The wholesaler Booker is rationing sales of beer because of the carbon dioxide shortage. The supplier, which is used by bars, restaurants and traders, is only allowing customers a maximum of 10 cases each. It's also limiting cider and fizzy soft drinks. And vandals are being blamed for the deaths of at least 120,000 bees at a park in South Tyneside. They destroyed 2 hives and damaged 2 others at Carr Ellison in Hebburn. The beekeeper says he's absolutely gutted. That's the news. Shabnam has the sport.
England goalkeeper Jordan Pickford says they're determined to beat Belgium on Thursday and finish top of Group E. He's dismissed talk that it might be better for England to finish second in the group. Dele Alli could be involved. He returned to full training today with the squad after recovering from a thigh strain. France and Denmark are through to the World Cup last 16 after a goalless draw in Group C this afternoon. Peru beat Australia 2-0 as they both head home from Russia. Tonight there's a big match in Group D as Argentina need to beat Nigeria to have a chance of making it to the knockout stages. That's at 7 right here on 5 Live and BBC One. Iceland against Croatia will be on BBC 4, the Red Button and online. Now let's go live to the tennis at Eastbourne where Johanna Konta has won her second round match. Ellie Oldroyd.
Yes, a comfortable victory for the British number one. She beat Alexandra Krunic of Serbia 6-1, 6-3. Now she plays Caroline Wozniacki, the top seed in the third round. Currently on centre court in the warm afternoon sunshine, Britain's Cameron Norrie, who's broken into the world top 100 this year, is up against qualifier Daniel Brands of Germany. It's going with serve 5-4 in the first set.
Ellie, thank you. And Jos Buttler will open the batting for England in their Seoul 2020 against Australia at Edgbaston tomorrow. He scored 275 runs in England's recent 5-0 one-day whitewash of the Aussies.
This is BBC 5 Live on digital, smart speaker, smartphone and tablet.
Shabnam, thank you very much. Look, I'm not going to ask you to do it now, but have a think about it. As a sports reporter, you must have seen what John Motson has said about Chelsea. All these years, he's pretended it was Barnet, but actually he was a closet Chelsea fan. So we're asking people today what their sporting allegiances are. Have you got one that you're willing to divulge?
So, I'm from Blackburn and I have to support Blackburn Rovers, but I've always sort of been an Arsenal fan.
Oh, crikey.
That's pretty much exactly, isn't it? What
I love the fact that you've kept it until this moment and just a tiny bit of prompting from me and you've told the world.
I generally keep it from Nihal.
I was going to say. I was thinking that the minute you said it. Would only have been one better if you'd said you were actually really an Arsenal fan pretending to be a Spurs fan. Shab, thank you. I love it. Or no, you won't escape this. I'll be asking you later. 85058 for your secret guilty sporting allegiances. The weather, a very warm and sunny end to the day for most of us. Some patchy cloud in northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland this evening and into tonight. The cloud is going to give way to a mostly clear night. There will be some low cloud and fog along the eastern coasts. It's going to be coming quite far inland as well in some areas. This is going to clear quickly tomorrow morning. It's set to be a very warm and sunny day. We will be out and about around the UK later on to find out what it's like where you are. Well, how are the roads?
Well, we've got, believe it or not, some roads have been affected by the hot weather, so some of the tarmac is not great, so the road conditions not great, but there will be signage up for you. And the A14's been closed in Cambridgeshire on the westbound side. That's because of an accident. A vehicle overturned at Godmanchester, junction 24. Motorways-wise, well, the M8 in Renfrewshire on the eastbound side, approaching Glasgow Airport at junction 28. There's been an accident there. It's caused queues back to the Erskine Bridge, so long delays there, and I'll have more for you later on.
Take 5 Live on the go. On digital, online, smartphone and tablet. 5 Live Drive.
A very good evening to you. I'm Sarah Brett. A British man has been found guilty of planning a terror attack in Westminster and making bombs for the Taliban. Khalid Ali, who's 28, had been tracked by counter-terrorism police since he returned from Afghanistan in November 2016. He'd previously spent 5 years making bombs to maim and kill coalition troops there. Ali was arrested in April last year in Westminster when he was caught carrying 3 knives. This is an edited version of footage from a police body cam of his arrest.
Got him? 2 sets. Okay, mate, you're under arrest for suspicion of being a terrorism, alright? So you don't have to say anything, but my homie defence, do not mention when.
What's your first name? What's your first name?
Do you have anything on you that may hurt us or hurt anyone else by virtue of us searching you, mate? Is that yes? I'm going to take this bag off you, mate. No! Mate, you're now under further arrest for being in possession of a bladed article.
Sean, just cut it, yeah. Cut it. Cut the bag. If you don't want
Take a knife, fellas. 3rd knife.
Well, having grown up in London and trained as a plumber, it appears that Ali first came to the attention of the security services in late 2010 when he took part in a Road to Hope aid convoy that travelled from the UK to Gaza.
And this is the main man now, the main man of the show, Mr. Khalid. Khalid, a few words before we're about to leave now.
We're going to do it out here in Gaza, taking it to the next level. You feel me? One love.
One love, one love, my brother.
Deputy Assistant Commissioner Dean Hayden is the Senior National Coordinator for Counter-Terrorism Policing.
He was a Taliban bomb maker. He had returned here to the UK. We knew that he'd armed himself with knives. We knew that his intentions were to target iconic sites in central London. He'd done hostile reconnaissance, he'd done some research. And when he headed towards Whitehall in possession of 3 knives, that's when we decided to act. So up until that time, we were managing the risk, but he was arrested at the appropriate time.
Well, I've just been speaking before we came on air to our correspondent who's been following this case, Daniel Sanford.
Khalid Ali was born in Saudi Arabia. He had an Ethiopian mother and a Somali father, but they moved to the UK in 1992, and he basically grew up in North London, in the Tottenham and Edmonton areas. He had a reasonably normal life. He trained as a gas fitter, and in 2010 he went on a convoy to Gaza called Road to Hope, and it seems that that's one of the first times that he encountered some people on that convoy who had quite an extremist ideology. They spent quite a lot of time listening to radical lectures on some of the car stereos, and within 6 months of returning from Gaza, he simply disappeared. And it turns out that he hadn't gone to Birmingham as he told his parents he was going to do, but it actually ended up in Afghanistan.
And what did he say in his trial about his time there?
Well, his story about what happened in Afghanistan was that he'd been taken hostage, essentially, by the Taliban and had been forced to make these improvised explosive devices, bombs, which had sort of remote controls and were detonated underground. But the jury have rejected that and have concluded that the reason that his fingerprints were found on 2 caches of these remote controlled devices by the Americans when those caches were handed in to them in Afghanistan was because Khalid Ali was a bomb maker for Al-Qaeda, working alongside the Taliban between 2012 and 2016. He returned to the UK in 2016. He actually turned up in Istanbul saying he'd lost his passport. A suspicious official at the consulate in Istanbul warned the police here in the UK, and when he arrived in the UK he was questioned and had his fingerprints taken, and those fingerprints matched fingerprints kept by the FBI. They've got this amazing, enormous warehouse of improvised explosive devices that have been found in Afghanistan, and his fingerprints matched.
Yeah, I saw some footage of it today, followed by the extraordinary footage of what happened next, because of course then the British authorities began to follow him, surveilling his every move. Tell us about the 24 hours in the approach to the actual attack, or attempted attack.
Well, as you say, he had been tracked quite carefully by MI5 and the counter-terrorism police, and there's quite a lot of evidence of them following him in those months after he returned until the day of April the 27th. But actually, on April the 26th, he had purchased some knives. He'd headed home, and his mum had actually found the knives in his room and was concerned enough about what she had found that she actually called out the local police. They came round and basically asked him to leave. He seems to have spent some of the night in a mosque. He then seems to have drifted over to West London, and that's where he next gets picked up on the radar, where he turns up in Wilko's in Ealing in West London, buys 3 brand new, very sharp, nasty-looking Sabatier kitchen knives, gets on the tube, heads to Victoria Station on the edge of Westminster, walks down into Westminster, goes over to the River Thames, chucks his phone in the river, dumps his Oyster card in a waste paper bin just outside Westminster Tube Station, and heads towards Whitehall, at which point the police decide that they've seen enough, and a large number of armed police officers in police vehicles suddenly descend on him, shouting, "Get back, and to the public, and get to the floor to him. And he's arrested, and sure enough, they find a knife in each of his jacket pockets and one tucked into his waistband.
Yeah, he was 200 metres from Whitehall in the end, wasn't he? And I was thinking to myself, well, they left it till the very last minute before they got him down, but he was never really going to go anywhere with all of the people that piled in there. How did he react today to the verdict, Daniel?
He was completely impassive today as the verdict was passed. I think he knew, frankly, many months ago that he was going to be found guilty, that it was slightly inevitable. We've seen quite a lot of footage of his police interviews that he gave in the days after that dramatic arrest on Whitehall, and he'd already sort of given up. He didn't ask for a lawyer. He actually admitted being an Al-Qaeda supporter, admitted that he'd been with the Taliban, and in those interviews didn't produce this extraordinary story of having been taken hostage by the Taliban. He admitted setting off 300 bombs himself, but didn't really concede that he was about to attack a police officer or an MP with knives in Whitehall. And frankly, from that moment on, it seemed like he'd abandoned himself to his fate, but he eventually did decide to get a lawyer, didn't plead guilty at the trial. We sat through a 3-week trial, but it was sort of inevitable what the verdict was going to be, and the jury today found him guilty of being both an Al-Qaeda bomb maker and a man who was about to carry out a knife attack in Whitehall.
And sentencing, Daniel, what do we know about that?
Well, the sentencing won't happen until July the 20th. There are some rather boring reasons about the availability of lawyers for that. But frankly, looking at the new sentencing guidelines, it's pretty inevitable that he's going to get a life sentence. And I think the minimum term he'll serve is going to be decades, possibly 30 or 40 years. It's obviously for the judge to decide, but he is not going to be released from prison anytime soon, and I think a life sentence is almost inevitable.
Our correspondent Daniel Sanford speaking to me just before we came on air. Coming up to 5:15, it's 5 Live. You're listening to Drive with Sarah Brett. Well, if you've been sweltering in the sun today, you're not alone, at least. Harden in North Wales has recorded the hottest temperature of the year so far, 30.2 degrees Celsius. That's just a notch hotter than yesterday's 30.1. The warmest areas of the UK are the west of Britain, especially the Midlands and parts of Wales, and the heat is expected to last until the weekend when things, and it's written here, will finally ease off. Some of us have been enjoying it and do not want it to finally ease off. Phil Mackey, it's one of the areas basking in the hottest sunshine. That is Worcester. How are you doing? Have you got a hat on? Are you well hydrated? Are you looking after yourself?
All of the above, Sarah. I'm wearing my hat at the moment. I've got my sunglasses on as well. I'm in the park, which isn't as busy as it has been, and I think people are becoming a little bit weary of all the heat at the moment. There is a tennis game going on, there's a football game going on, there's a water pistol fight going on over there. You might hear some children screaming in the paddling area, but most people are sticking to the shade beneath the trees and getting out of the sun, and it's not certainly as busy as it has been over the last few days. I'm also not hoping that there'll be a breakdown in the weather at the weekend, because that's when I'm due to be playing cricket, but that is the forecast, and it's been in the high 20s here in the West Midlands today. Not quite 30 yet, but it feels, with very little wind, just like it could get very close to that very soon.
Yeah, I mean, all the wonders of it, all the things that we enjoy and we forget, and we think to ourselves, goodness me, this is what summer is like. It seems like years since we've had one. But inevitably, it leads to some chaos. We've had wildfires, we've had a tragedy and travel problems.
Yeah, all of those things tend to happen, and it's a sad thing that obviously when it gets very hot, like it has done over the last few days, people see open water and they tend to want to get in it, and that led to a death yesterday where somebody swam in a quarry lake in Surrey. Often very dangerous because the water's so cold. You're hot, you jump in, your body goes into shock. And also there are dangers of jumping into lakes and rivers because there are hidden hazards, things that you just don't know are there until you get in. And terribly, sadly, a 13-year-old went swimming with his friends in a lake in Stoke-on-Trent yesterday after school. His name's Ryan Evans, and he hasn't been found yet. There's been a massive search that went on right until dark last night, and they've resumed it today. The assumption is, I'm afraid, that he hasn't survived that. His two friends did get out and raise the alarm yesterday, but there's a warning from everybody, really. Be very careful about where you're going. Avoid open water unless it's safe to swim. One doesn't want to sound like a complete killjoy, but there are obvious hazards, and there's a level 2 health warning out at the moment because of the excessive heat and just that message that you gave me. Stay hydrated, keep a hat on, and enjoy it, but don't suffer from it.
Phil, thank you very much. Phil Mackey in Worcester, basking, one of the hottest areas. Well, on that note, let's speak to Anna Crossley, who's a professional lead for acute emergency and critical care at the Royal College of Nursing. Thank you very much, Anna, for being with us. That yellow health warning, who is most at risk when it really does creep up to sort of 30 plus?
Well, the heat really can affect anyone, which includes those who are physically fit and well, but those who are particularly at risk would be older people, those under 4 years, especially infants, those who have long-term conditions, so problems with heart and lungs, who may also be on many medications. Those who've got difficulty adapting their behaviour, for example, people who have dementia, and those who are socially isolated. Those are the people that are particularly at risk in hot weather.
OK, well, listen, it's very good talking to you, Anna, and thank you for the advice. Anna Crossley from the Royal College of Nursing. Tonight on Phil Williams' show on 5 Live, he has an expert in with tips on how to sleep in this hot weather. My little one, didn't go to bed last night till nearly 10 o'clock, up at 6 a.m, you know. I know I should be tougher, but it's exhausting. Phil is on tonight from 10:30 here on 5 Live. Just go up to 5:20.
This is 5 Live Drive.
The main headlines: an Al-Qaeda bomb maker has been found guilty of plotting a knife attack on police and MPs outside Parliament. A bus driver and passenger have been killed in a collision between a double-decker and a lorry in Cambridgeshire. And a couple have been jailed for at least 30 years for the torture and murder of their French nanny at their home in southwest London. Orla Merchants with me has all the travel news for you today.
I do. I'll just mention the weather because resurfacing's been done after accidents that have happened earlier on today. And what's happening is some of those road closures are still in place, or the lane closures are, because the roads haven't set or they haven't been able to set because of the hot weather. So some of that's still straggling and still around. And with the trains, be prepared for slight delays to journeys, and that's just because of speed restrictions because of the higher track temperatures, but we're talking about 15 minutes or so, that's all. And then of course Northern Rail have the engineering works and the emergency timetables, and they're still going on alongside all of those as well. Now the A14 is still closed on the westbound side in Huntington, so it's westbound from 24 Godmanchester to 23 at Spittles Interchange. That's after an accident, a vehicle overturned. The M8 in Renfrewshire, it's Glasgow Airport Junction 28, 40 minutes added to your journey there. The accident cleared a while ago, but the queues go back to the Erskine Bridge. The M62 looking slow eastbound, 29 for the M1, backing up to Junction 27 at Gildersham. That's after an earlier breakdown as well. The M6 not too bad. The M60 is very heavy along the bottom. That's after an accident near Stockport at Junction 1. It was on the anti-clockwise side. There are queues on the eastbound M56 as well, heading towards the M60. And the M1 in Buckinghamshire, there are northbound queues, but all lanes are open again now. It's Junction 14 at Milton Keynes to 15 at Northampton after the earlier problems there.
I feel suitably chastised already for saying that I was having problems sleeping. My little one was. Imagine being a truck driver. He's texted this truck driver, says try being a truck driver, trying to sleep in this heat at night is shocking. Particularly if you're in those. Remember Tony was going on about those coffin places. You actually sleep under the truck.
We were debating whether they existed.
Was lying.
Yeah, he was lying.
No, he wasn't.
No, he wasn't. He proved us wrong, didn't he?
It was absolutely true at the end of it. Well, you know, if you can beat that, then please do send us a text on 850 508. Also, do get in touch about your secret sporting allegiances. You heard Shabnam announce there on network radio that she's supposed to be a Blackburn fan, but she's secretly an Arsenal fan.
5 Live Sports.
The FIFA World Cup Russia.
Sterling back to Lingard. This is nice. Lingard with a curling shot. That's wonderful. There's the final whistle here in Nizhny Novgorod, and it's a record score for England at a World Cup finals. 6-1.
Next, England take on Belgium in their final game in Group G.
It has been the perfect start.
You never go into a competition trying to come second or third or fourth.
Live commentary Thursday night at 7 on BBC Radio 5 Live and the BBC iPlayer radio app.
Well, we're nearing the end of the group stage of the World Cup, and there has been some great football, lots of goals, but one issue is dominating the debate, and that is the use of the video assistant referee, or VAR. So, in 2 games played last night, Spain versus Morocco, Portugal, Iran, the almost simultaneous use of VAR changed the final positions of the Group B table. Spain had a goal allowed that had originally been ruled offside, and Portugal were awarded a penalty that most pundits thought shouldn't have been given. Our sports news correspondent Richard Conway is in St. Petersburg. Talk about talking points. There's been a lot of criticism here. Any idea how VAR is being viewed by other countries in the World Cup, Richard?
Yeah, I think it was always going to be a big discussion point, VAR, and I think lots of the countries are looking at this in the same way that perhaps people back home are as well, thinking, is it working? Is it not? Is it getting the big decisions right? We saw last night a very controversial decision in that Portugal game. I think that the prevailing view seems to be that the referee, having gone over to consult the pitch side monitor, didn't get it right, perhaps. That is one of 15 decisions that have been analysed in detail as official reviews, and the other ones seem to have gone the right way, but of course people will have their own view whether it's necessary or not. Is it taking too much time? Is it killing the flow of the game? Yeah. But last night was certainly a very big moment in the story of VAR at this World Cup. Yeah, there have been lots of interesting and some hilarious tweets about it, haven't there? I saw one guy saying it's like blaming CCTV for the robbery. But I guess it does show us, doesn't it? It's the refs that make the final decisions. People are finding it hard to understand how they can get it wrong, though, when they're viewing the footage several times over. Yeah, exactly, and I think it comes down to human error. It comes down to that human fallibility. But then you look at something like Neymar in the Costa Rica game when he looked as if he'd been dragged down by a Costa Rican player. Initially, the Dutch referee pointed to the penalty spot, but he then went to have a look at the video screen, overturned the decision. Now, that would have been an injustice. So, for every incident like we saw with the Iran game last night, there have been others to show that, yes, it maybe is working. But, I was talking to Alexi Lalas, the former US international, about this, and he described it quite well. He said, this is football's Band-Aid moment. They're going to have to rip the plaster off. It's going to be an ouch, but they're going to have to get through it because it's going to improve in time. But they just have to get through this initial pain.
Gosh, the analogies are coming thick and fast, Richard. Are we expecting FIFA to respond to the criticisms?
Yeah, we're going to have a briefing with them on Friday in which they're going to go through all the big decisions. Their head of referees, Massimo Busacca, Pierluigi Collina, the former referees on their referees committee. So we'll get their view on Friday. But I think the predominant view is, that they wanted this because they wanted to increase the fairness within games. And I think they'll be pretty happy, despite last night's chaos, a little bit of confusion. For the most part, I think the thinking is we're getting this right, but we'll get more from them towards the end of this week.
OK, thanks very much, Richard. Good talking to you. Richard Conway in St. Petersburg. It is 25 minutes past 5 o'clock. The Duke of Cambridge has become the first British royal to make an official visit to Israel and the Palestinian territories. At the request of the UK government, the Duke is due to meet Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, during the trip, which is seen as hugely significant for UK-Israel relations. Today, he laid a wreath to remember the Jewish victims of the Holocaust.
I'm honoured to invite His Royal Highness Prince William, Duke of Cambridge, to lay the wreath on the stone slab under which the ashes of Holocaust victims from the extermination camps are buried. Hanachat Hazer.
BBC Middle East correspondent Yolande Knell is in Jerusalem. Yolande, every single moment of this trip is being very carefully watched and scrutinised. Remind us why it's so significant.
Well, of course, British royal trips are supposed to be strictly non-political, but one thing that Israeli and Palestinian officials who I spoke to ahead of this trip agreed on is that everything here is political because of the long-running Israel-Palestinian conflict, and so basically this is going to be an unprecedented diplomatic challenge for Prince William over the coming days. Now, Israel has been around for 70 years now, and yet it has never received a royal visitor, so this was a very historic royal trip. It started off quite conventionally for VIPs coming to visit here with that visit to the Yad Vashem Holocaust Museum, something that Prince William was heard commenting was very moving. There were then courtesy calls that he paid on the Israeli Prime Minister and the President, at which he made no official comments. But then I think we got the sorts of images that British diplomats are really hoping we're going to see much more of, that those are the kind of images that will prevail here, because we had the Prince changing into more casual clothes. He went off to Jaffa on the coast for a football match between Arab and Jewish Israeli children at the Shimon Peres Centre for Peace. He scored 2 goals there in penalties himself, albeit against a 13-year-old goalkeeper. And then he went off to the beach in Tel Aviv, meeting surfers and the like. So this is supposed to be the image of the cool young prince, looking more relaxed, meeting young people, joining cultural events. And he's going to go off to Ramallah in the West Bank tomorrow, where, as well as meeting the Palestinian president, they say, British diplomats, they hope he'll get a feel for the buzz of the city.
Thanks very much, Yolande. Nice to speak to you. That's Yolande Nell for us in Jerusalem. Laura James is with me too, who's a senior Middle East analyst at Oxford Analytica. Thank you for being with us, Laura. This is being billed by some as a controversial visit. You've just heard Yolande saying there that the balance is delicate and that everybody is watching it because it is political. What do you make of it?
In some respects, all visits to Israel and the Palestinian territories are controversial. But I think that they're managing this one very carefully indeed. All of the wording about what's called occupied territory in East Jerusalem, all of that has been very carefully aligned with British policy. There was a blip this morning when a journalist was excluded from an event on the grounds that Israeli security forces thought he might be a Muslim. And that was problematic, but I don't think it's going to affect the overall royal visit.
Why now? I mean, what's changed in the political situation to make it less sensitive for a British royal to come after all these decades of turning down invitations?
To some extent, I think it's the 70-year anniversary of the creation of the State of Israel and the end of Britain's mandate, therefore, in Palestine. I think also it's just that it was overdue. The omission was becoming as embarrassing as the potential of a visit, and they are balancing it very carefully between Israel and the Palestinians. So neither side is seriously complaining, although each might grumble a little.
Benjamin Netanyahu has said a lot in recent years that there wouldn't be a diplomatic isolation of Israel if the peace process stalled. It would appear that he was right, because Israel's relationship with other countries has improved as well in the last year or so.
Yes, Israel is a booming economy, and generally I think that there's a global trend that human rights issues are becoming less important in foreign policy. In the United States, that seems to be a factor with the Trump administration. In the European Union and in the UK, it's more about Brexit and the fact that human rights can't be the top consideration anymore.
Very interesting. Just finally, the security, one would imagine, around this visit is huge. I mean, I know he's on a tour of the Middle East, so there will be tight security whatever happens. But what do you think about this particular part of the visit?
It'll be incredibly tight because they can't afford any kind of incident. That said, Israel has quite a good lockdown on its areas. The trip to the Palestinian territories tomorrow, again, everybody will be wanting to avoid any possible embarrassment. So the security situation is improved in any case. I think he'll be okay.
And just finally, Laura, I wonder, because they haven't come for so long and now they're there. I remember reading in one of the Jewish newspapers about 5 years ago when they turned another one down. I think the editor said, typical nasty, petty side of the British royal family. It got quite exercised about it. Do you think people are welcoming him with open arms, or do you think the snubs will have riled some people and they won't be as happy?
It's actually a massive welcome.
Really?
There have been a few comments about referring to the occupied territories, which is standard British policy, but that's playing normal politics. If you look at the Israeli media, they're very, very excited about him.
Brilliant. Good talking to you, Laura. Thank you. Laura James, Senior Middle East Analyst at Oxford Analytica. It's 5:30.
On digital, online, smartphone and tablet. This is BBC 5 Live.
Alison's here with the news.
A British member of the Taliban has been found guilty of planning a knife attack on police and MPs in Westminster. Khalid Ali, who's 28 and from North London, was found with several knives on Parliament Street last year. A bus driver and passenger have been killed in a collision between a double-decker and a lorry in Cambridgeshire. 5 people were also seriously injured in the crash on the A47 near Wisbech. A French couple have been jailed for at least 30 years each for torturing and murdering their nanny at their home in South London. Sabrina Quider and Wasim Medouni were wrongly convinced that Sophie Lyonnais was conspiring with the former Boyzone singer Mark Walton to cause them harm. And the Prisons Minister has admitted the government accepted a completely unsustainable bid for prisons maintenance from the collapsed firm Carillion. Rory Stewart told the Justice Committee the firm had underestimated the cost of the work by £15 million a year. That's the news. Shabnam has the sport.
France and Denmark are through to the World Cup last 16 after playing out a goalless draw, but the French performance hasn't drawn much praise.
You know, Nzonzi, Kimpembe was probably the best of the worst, but the others, I mean, come on. Dembele was shocking, Lemar was shocking, Sidibé was shocking, and it's not good for them, it's not good for the French team either, because that takes away the competition, because now everybody knows the team that Deschamps is going to put for the last 16 and probably for the quarters if they go through and etc., because there's no competition in this team, because the guys who came in today was just not good enough.
Well, that's journalist Julien Laurent not sounding too happy with the French players. Peru beat Australia 2-0 as they head home from Russia. Tonight is the highly anticipated battle in Group D between Nigeria and Argentina, with the two-time winners in danger of being sent home if they don't win. Nigeria's Odion Ighalo says despite their admiration for Messi, they want to end his World Cup in Russia tonight.
That will be our main goal, to make it that it will be Messi's last World Cup game. As much as we love as a footballers to enjoy watch Messi play, it's against us, so there's only one option for us, and it has to be that he plays his last game here in St. Petersburg.
There'll be commentary on 5 Live and BBC One from 7. Iceland against Croatia will be on BBC 4, the Red Button and online. England goalkeeper Jordan Pickford has dismissed talk it might be better for them to finish second in Group E ahead of their game against Belgium on Thursday.
Our mentality is to win every game we're playing, and we want to win every game, and I feel like if we win every game it just keeps building momentum to keep going in the tournament, and we know Belgium's a top opponent and we need to be on our A game to get the win, and I feel our squad in the camp, we want to win every game we're playing, so we can't be looking into that.
Dele Alli could be involved in that game. He returned to full training today after recovering from a thigh strain. Now to tennis, and British number 1 Johanna Konta is through to the last 16 at Eastbourne. It's after beating Alexandra Krunic in straight sets.
I think overall I really tried to play the right way, and the way that I felt that it was going to bring me the most opportunities to try and take. It was not easy out here, it was quite gusty, and so there were a lot of unpredictable balls, and it was definitely not an easy match.
Well, on our website now, you can follow qualifying for Wimbledon at Roehampton. Dan Evans plays his second match later. He needs to win 3 to play in the Grand Slam. To the Specsavers County Championship, and Kevin Howells is watching leaders Surrey against Yorkshire in Scarborough.
It's day 2, and Yorkshire totaled 342 in the end in their first innings. Surrey in response 198 for 7 now. Ollie Pope is 31 not out, but what a difficult day it has been for the title race leaders Surrey. First, they were found guilty of 2 disciplinary offences, and Yorkshire awarded 5 penalty runs, and now in difficult conditions batting, as this game is held up on numerous occasions because of the low mist coming in off the sea fret. The umpires doing their best to keep the players out there, but very disruptive for both sets of teams, players I guess, but at the moment certainly seems to be affecting the Surrey batsmen. Elsewhere, Warwickshire 424 for 9 versus Durham. Jonathan Trott is 170 not out.
Kevin, thank you. And the cricket commentary continues over on 5 Live Sports Extra. That's your latest from BBC Sport.
Take 5 Live on the go. On digital, online, smartphone and tablet. 5 Live Drive.
Shabnam, thank you very much. I'm Sarah Brett, and this is Drive until 6:30 this evening. England defender Danny Rose says he is now open to the idea of his family travelling to Russia to watch him in the World Cup, despite previously saying he didn't want them to for fear that they would be racially abused. Ahead of England's final group game against Belgium on Thursday, Rose has also revealed to 5 Live's Steve Crossman that Harry Kane does have one flaw, and talked about his great personal relationship with manager Gareth Southgate.
I have a relationship
with the manager outside of, these four walls. He's texted me, when I've been at Tottenham to see how I'm getting on. After previous camps, he's called me to see what my thoughts are, on what we've done and how the games have gone. Before the Costa Rica game at Ellen Road, we went for a walk around the hotel. He spent, about 10-15 minutes with me, and he was great. Then he had some, nice words to say to me then. And even now, we spoke on Friday, I think it was, before the game, and he just, explained a few things why I wasn't playing, and we spent about 10 minutes with each other, and at the end of that, he just said to me, no matter what, no matter how I'm feeling, just make sure I always going to speak to him. So, yeah, the relationship's great, and, I wouldn't have it any other way.
He always comes across as such a friendly bloke. I wonder if there's a moment when you and the squad have sort of seen the authority and thought, oh, OK, maybe not a guy to be messed with as well.
No, we know that he's not somebody you don't want to take the mickey. When people ask me outside of here, they always ask me what the gaffer's like, and I always say that he's too nice at times. But, there is a line, we know not to cross it, and... I think the coaches have got a great setup because the gaffer's really relaxed and approachable, and Steve Holland's the one that if you step out of line, if you do a bad pass, if you're late, he's the one to, give you a grilling. So I think they've got the balance, down to a T.
Good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So everybody's on Steve's back in training. He's normally the referee, so in training everyone's on his back, and the gaffer just sits in the background and has no part of it.
Tell us something we don't know about Harry Kane.
Something you don't know about Harry. He's a bad neighbour.
Bad neighbour?
I'll give you that, yeah. We used to live on the same street. I was there first, and I think it's only right if I was there first that I should be asked around for a cup of tea. Seeing as I'm a northerner, and, not once did he ever ask me around for a cup of tea, so... For those of you who don't know, I'd say Harry's a bad neighbour.
Noisy neighbour, or just, not invited? Was it just that first moment? Everything else has been all right? Or was, you got off on a bad foot there, obviously?
Yeah, we got off on a bad foot, and, I've had to move, so... Yeah, I've moved to a different area now, so I'm away from him. But no, seriously, I don't know what I could possibly say about him. He's...
is he walking taller now he's captain? Do you see any difference in him at all? Same bloke?
No, he's the same person. Obviously, I see him every day at my club. I get to see how he works, how hard he works, how he eats, the preparation for matches. If we ever have a problem or a question, we go to Harry, and he's the first one who'll want to go and ask to try and solve any of the players' issues. One day when he did his ankle towards the end of the season, I gave him a lift home from training, and on the way back we spoke about just how he is and how he's got his mindset, and it's scary how hungry he is, and it's going to be very exciting to see the records he's going to break. Not only in this competition but in the Premier League, and for his country, and I feel very lucky to. Share a change room with him, share the pitch with him, and he deserves everything that he gets. All the plaudits, all the goals, assists, the armbands at Tottenham and here, and long may it continue.
Final one from me. If you manage to get yourself in the team, if England get to the last stages and there's two big ifs, I know obviously your family didn't come out here, and we know why. From what you've seen in Russia, having lived in this sort of bubble in the forest, would you be comfortable now with them coming out if you're playing in England or in the tournament?
I'd have to check hotel prices first. But, no, I'd be, I'd just want to get in the team, and then, after that I'd be open. I'd definitely be open now to having my family out here. So, let's just hope we get through. No, let's hope we win on Thursday, and then we beat whoever we play in the next round, and we'll see.
And you can hear more of Danny Rose talking to Steve Crossman and Gareth Southgate himself on the 5 Live World Cup Daily Podcast. It's 20 to 6. Calls from MPs and defence ministers to increase spending on the armed forces have exposed tensions at the heart of government about public spending. The former business minister, George Freeman, has criticised senior ministers for publicly lobbying for more money for their departments, describing the situation as chaos. Well, that's not all he said. There was alley cats fighting in the street. There was all sorts of things going on in that interview. Our deputy political editor is John Peanut. John, did he have it just right?
Yeah, pretty much. It does look like a fight in an alley, plenty of scratching going on. There's nothing new, Sarah, about ministers scrabbling for cash for their own departments, especially the big spending ministers in the big spending departments, especially defence, especially in the Tory party, where it's a big sensitive issue. But it's not like this. You don't generally see it like this. Money is certainly tight. After years of austerity, money is tight. And what have we seen? Well, we've seen a former chief of the defence staff out loud saying, look, we need this money or defence can't work as it should be. We've seen a defence committee at the House of Commons saying put spending on defence up from 2% to 3%. That's 40 billion up to 60 billion. And you could say that's the way it goes. That's how it works. But we've also seen the Defence Secretary in recent days, through briefings, the team around him, warning that he better have that money or else. Even threats, not so veiled anonymously, to Theresa May's survival as Prime Minister. And some MPs, actually quite a lot of MPs and others, think that's going beyond the normal rules of engagement.
Yes, indeed. That's what George Freeman said, didn't he? He said he doesn't recognise the party that he joined. Cabinet ministers going to the press and trying to get money based on who gets the biggest headline is not the way the Conservative Party does business. But there is this element, isn't there, of trust and competency and being the pro-business party that is somewhat at odds with some of their current moves, isn't there?
Well, look, I mean, the way the Tory party looks at the moment compared to past many years is massively at odds. The Tory party has always prided itself on being the party of business beyond any other party. And we've seen in recent days, again, the Foreign Secretary, a senior cabinet minister, reportedly saying F business when he was asked about this relationship. His point then being that business was piping up in the wrong way too loudly against Brexit as he sees Brexit. So when do you see a Conservative administration at odds with the business community in quite that way? And there was Jeremy Hunt, the Health Secretary, at the weekend, saying it was inappropriate, his word, for Airbus, big company employing thousands, to warn about the potential dangers of Brexit in the way that they do. Well, today, the Prime Minister's been talking to business people at the Times newspaper and said it's right for business to express its opinions. But how odd to have a Tory Prime Minister even having to say it's right for business to express its opinion. We haven't seen a time like this before, Sarah.
Yes, so what's going to happen? What are going to be the kind of flashpoints in this argument over spending and taxing coming up?
Well, I mean, so many things come back to the B word, to Brexit, and so does this, because it'll be the Chancellor's job. The Chancellor has to square these circles and allocate the money and find a way to make it work politically. His argument is going to be money's tight, the economy, but it's growing more slowly than a lot of economies among the advanced economies of the world, and he believes if Brexit is done badly, well, then the public finances will suffer and there'll be less money to go around between spending departments. So he's going to be, at the outset, arguing for a softer, more gentle Brexit than some others at the cabinet table would want. There's going to be a reckoning at Chequers just in this coming week. And the threat beyond that is that on the defence issue, just to take that example, there will be another reckoning. And there are, I can tell you, dozens of Tory MPs worried about defence spending, and they will be kicking off in different ways. And one threat is they might even turn against the budget. We'll see whether it comes to that, but there's trouble ahead.
John Peenon, thank you very much. Our deputy political editor there. Now, students at Durham are going to be setting their alarm clocks extra early come this September. Now, if you're kind of my vintage, which is older than I would like, but still respectable, the idea of getting up for a university lecture at 8 a.m. is beyond the pale. They're saying this will accommodate an increase in the amount of students this year. The change comes despite some secondary schools changing their hours to later in the morning to improve academic performance. So what's the best time to get up? When are you at your best? Can you say it's the same for everybody, depending on their age group? Let's talk to Dr. John O'Neill. He's an expert in circadian rhythms for the MRC Laboratory of Molecular Biology in Cambridge. What a marvellous title that is in its entirety, John. What's the issue with young people being in class at this time, 8 a.m.?
Yeah, so I don't think it's a great idea, frankly. As we age out of childhood, naturally our chronotype gets later. By chronotype, I mean the time of day that, left to our own devices, we tend to sleep. And that seems to be hardwired into human biology. It seems to be something to do with the hormonal changes that occur during adolescence, meaning that teenagers, people in their early 20s, naturally will tend to wake up later and go to bed later. And so by scheduling the lectures that early, it means that they are not at their best in terms of their cognitive ability, and also they're likely to be losing out on sleep. And we all know that long-term sleep deprivation, or just not getting enough sleep each night, has many immediate and also long-term consequences on the body.
Yes, I mean, you've got to wonder, there's got to be tumbleweeds going through that lecture hall at 8 a.m. in the morning. I was talking to one of our team earlier who said that there was a 9 a.m. lecture that she was supposed to go to, but it was repeated at 2. So there was never anybody in the 9 a.m., but the 2 o'clock was absolutely jammers. What can students do then to help themselves with this change?
So there are a few things that you could do. We understand quite well the external factors that tell your biological clock what time of day it is. And so in order to try and get over this social jet lag, as it's been called, what you could do is just be very careful about the times when you see light and the times that you eat, and try to avoid caffeinated drinks after about 5 or 6 p.m. in the evening. So what this would essentially be trying to do is trick the student's biological clock into thinking that it's actually earlier than it really is. So if they were to get up at, say, 6 o'clock each morning and look at some really bright lights, and then avoid bright lights later in the evening, have a healthy breakfast, great big breakfast, and avoid a very heavy evening meal, that should help them be able to get up earlier. But yeah, I think that it's still placing a bit of a demand on the students' biological clocks.
John, good talking to you. Thank you very much. Dr. John O'Neill, an expert in circadian rhythms. I'm going to say the whole thing again, from the MRC Laboratory of Molecular Biology in Cambridge. It's coming up to 10 minutes to 6.
This is 5 Live Drive.
The main headlines: a British plumber has been convicted of planning a terror attack on the police and MPs at Westminster. Uber has won a legal battle to have its licence to operate in London restored. And 2 men have been killed and 5 people are seriously injured after a crash between a double-decker bus and a lorry in Cambridgeshire. Orna has our travel.
Thanks, Sarah. So the A14 is still closed in Cambridgeshire. It's the westbound side, 24 Godmanchester to 23 at the Spittals interchange. But the queues go back to Fenstanton at junction 27. A vehicle overturned. It's taking a while to clear. The M62 and eastbound, the recovery of the vehicles after the accident, all complete now. Junction 29 at the M1, but backing up to junction 27 for Gildersham. And the M6 in Staffordshire, the queues on the southbound side. There was a breakdown at Stoke-on-Trent at junction 15, and then further down, junction 13 at Stafford South. There's a broken down tanker taking up 1 lane. The M1 in South Yorkshire heading south, 37 at Barnsley. Another broken down lorry there with 1 lane closed. The M1, that's still queuing Daventry at junction 16. That's after an accident in 1 lane. Queuing traffic on the M4. If you're heading west, it's away from London, junction 7 at Slough West. Taking up 2 lanes at the moment while they recover the vehicles. Queues are backing up to junction 5 at Langley. The M25, the western stretch heavy from the M4 to the M3, 15 to 12. Really slow clockwise over the QE2 bridge as well. And we're looking slow on the M3 in Hampshire still after the earlier accident, which is cleared. Junction 4A for Farnborough.
So, we've been talking about guilty sporting allegiances after Motti admitted that he's actually been a Chelsea fan all along. He's got a new book out and he's said all these decades, 50 years of fibbing about Barnet when actually he was Chelsea. You've got a little one, haven't you? You've had to play, you've been piggy in the middle. What happened?
I have to, well, basically, when we all the way through growing up, and even now, when there's a derby, it's a problem. My dad, he supports City, he's a blue. My brother, very much a red. So I'm completely stuck in the middle. And when it's derby day, it's just
have
not
to
very good
sit
at all.
between them on the sofa.
And now my nephew's coming, or my godson as well, he's come into play now. So he's been torn. This little 6-year-old stuck in the middle. At the moment, he's leaning towards the Reds.
Oh, good Goodness me.
At the moment.
It's all kicking off in your house. And in terms of, because we had a sort of a side chat with this, didn't we, about guilty sporting pleasures. Mm-hmm. There's nothing to feel guilty about, really, but I love darts. But it's just,
it's the darts tops you like,
It's my granny.
Yeah.
My granny loved a bit of darts. She was dead good at it too. What's yours?
Crown green bowling, but only this time of the year. I'm very... a little bit fickle
fair
with
weather
that.
Crown green bowler. Love it. Well, if you've got a guilty sporting pleasure as well as an allegiance, we'd love to hear from you. 85058.
5 Live Sports. Available now. 5 Live's World Cup Daily Podcast.
I am delighted to welcome Frank Lampard to the World Cup Daily Podcast.
Gareth's made all these moves that make us talk now more about the team rather than about this position and that position. There's a real energy about this team and it's great to watch.
Download the World Cup Daily Podcast from your favourite podcast provider.
I'm Gareth Southgate and you're listening to the World Cup Daily Podcast.
Get yourself a podcast, kid. That's where it is, number 1.
This is your World Cup station. This is 5 Live.
And this is Drive with Sarah Brett. It is officially Scorchio. The hot weather is making us all think about barbecues and salads. And with that, of course, Wimbledon, days away, strawberries. But here is some news that you might not have expected. Although the sun is great for ripening them, it's too hot for picking them. 5 Live Money's Danny Houston is at a strawberry farm near Leeds, which is presumably very quiet.
It is very quiet at the moment. I'm in one of the tunnels. There are hundreds of tunnels here, absolutely bursting full of beautiful, juicy, red, ripe fruit. And yes, I have had a taste and it is absolutely amazing. But it is also baking hot under these tunnels, which is why what they've had to do is they've had to start the workforce at ridiculous o'clock in the morning so that all the picking is done and dusted before the temperature gets too high. Because, of course, as it warms up, it's very, very difficult to pick the strawberries. They can bruise very easily. Well, it is Makin's Strawberry Farm, just north-east of Leeds, and I'm joined by Annabelle Makin. Hello, Annabelle.
Hi there.
So, obviously, with the heat, there are big issues here with strawberries and strawberry picking.
There are mainly the welfare of the people to start with. 400 pickers every morning, out by 3 o'clock, in by 9, because it's always 15 degrees hotter in the tunnel than it is outside in the height of the summer. So we could be talking about 45 degrees at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's really important that we get those guys in. But also for the fruit, we don't want it to have any pressure damage when it goes into the punnet. So it needs to be as cool as possible. So we do that by bringing them in earlier and then them going into a blast chiller, which can take the temperature out within 30 minutes. So we can go from a strawberry being 32 degrees down to 2 degrees within half an hour, and then it's into the cold store, ready for packing and out the same day. So that keeps the shelf life then for the end user too.
Okay, so obviously just looking at this, there are lots of ripe strawberries. I know that you picked here early this morning, so clearly the sun is doing its job, but I guess that means that there is a huge amount of supply out there. Does that have an impact?
It has done over the last few weeks. We are in a position at the moment where the June bearers down in Kent are coming to an end and they're waiting to start their ever bearers. And as you work up the country, you go from Kent to Hereford to Yorkshire, we tend to fill the Wimbledon gap quite well. We'll be doing 70% of Morrison's supply over the coming weeks due to our geographics. And obviously the demand is there because of the barbecues, the hot weather and Wimbledon. Yeah. So it's a great time for us, which is fantastic.
It also is using an awful lot of water, about 50% more water, and you've got a lake here and boreholes, so these things are thirsty.
They are. We are using a lot more. We have a 7 million gallon lake and 2 boreholes pumping into there, and without rainfall and without the boreholes we would empty that within 2 weeks.
I've got to ask about the workforce as well. You say it's 400 strong. I saw loads and loads of caravans on the way over. How many of them are British workers?
Absolutely none.
And have you tried to get British workers?
Oh, tried is an understatement. I've gone to universities, we've gone to the job centre. There is literally nobody that will do the job. We did have 3 applicants several years ago. One lasted an hour, one lasted half a day, and the other one lasted 2 days, and they never returned.
Okay, Annabelle Macon from Macon Strawberries, thank you very much indeed. It is absolutely amazing here. The strawberries are great, but it is a tricky job, and I did pick cucumbers for a while.
Oh, I was wondering if you were going to. I wondered if you were going to bring up your cucumber plucking.
Oh, yes, that was hard work. I managed 4 weeks and it paid for an interrailing holiday, so it was good fun.
Dally, those were the days. I picked strawberries myself many, many moons ago. Safe to say I wasn't the only person, though, from these islands that was doing it back then. Very interesting stuff. It's coming up to 5 minutes to 5. You're listening to Drive with Sarah Brett. Well, add this to the list of reasons for not liking narcissists. They're often more successful than you are. That's according to a recent study that's found young people identified as narcissists performed better in exams than would have been expected based on other tests of their intelligence. The researchers on the study say a narcissist's sense of superiority gives them a mental toughness not to give up. Peter Clough contributed to the study. He's head of the Department of Psychology at Huddersfield University. So, they're irritating and they're successful. Which is irritating?
Exactly right. They can be irritating and they can be successful.
So that idea of mental toughness, not to give up, Peter, is it mental toughness? Is it mental resilience? I mean, you've done the study, so, who am I? But or is it the fact that they just think that they're absolutely brilliant and nobody can really get inside that?
And I think you just have to contextualise narcissism in as much that on its own it is a particularly irritating and arrogant factor. Mm-hmm. Coupled with mental toughness, it's the underlying self-belief drives the things forward. So I think the key here is narcissists who are mentally tough don't need to score points of other people, so they're happy with themselves, they're self-referent. So all these dark elements of personality, they have to be put in a wider context. So on their own, awful. With other things, they can be very useful.
That's really interesting because, yes, I mean, I've been reading about this, that narcissism is one of the dark triad of malevolent personality traits.
Along with psychopathy and Machiavellianism. So those two aren't particularly good, but narcissism is really believing in the best thing ever. And, of course, that's self-belief, that's confidence. But if that's just left on its own, it can be a really damaging element.
Very interesting. So the study shows that narcissism, is growing among young people. Why is that? Does it have anything to do with social media, or is that unprovable at this point?
And I think it's we just had a small sample, and it's self-report. So whether it's there or not, but I think I have a 17-year-old daughter, and they're constantly told at school to increase their self-confidence. So I guess it might reflect that element that if you're constantly told, you need to be positive, they're just being more positive.
And Peter, just finally, I know that you're a Love Island fan, and
oh yes.
So who's the most narcissistic on Love Island?
I think we start with all of them.
It's a good starting point, but come on, Adam's got to top that. And yeah,
according to my other half, I just had a quick discussion there. Adam is up there, yes, on the narcissistic scale, absolutely.
But again, look how successful he's been. He's managed to turn it around, and he's successful with the opposite sex apparently as well.
As long as you can bounce back and you can recover from setbacks, it works. Whether it's an endearing feature, I'll leave you to decide.
Well, I'm not really sure how I feel about it. I think he's going to get booted out. That's the other thing, is it? With narcissism as well, there is, on the serious side, the risk to it harming people around you, isn't there?
It is if you want to score points of other people, if it's all about you. But basically, coupled with mental toughness, you believe you're great, you believe other people are great, it's a win-win.
Well, listen, it's great talking to you, Peter. Thank you very much. Peter Clough, who contributed to this study. He's the head of the Department of Psychology at Huddersfield University. It's bottom line, isn't it? Everybody's narcissistic on Love Island, but sure, what odds? In the next hour, a survey reveals what young women really think about their sex lives, and it's not what you might expect. We'll get the latest on the heatwave, and one of the world's leading cave rescuers is going to give me his thoughts on the attempt to save a group of boys stranded in a flooded cave in Thailand. It's all coming up here on Drive on 5 Live. Stay with us.
This is your World Cup station. Russia 2018. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
It's 6 o'clock on 5 Live. This is Drive with Sarah Brett. Our main story, a plumber from London has been found guilty of planning a terror attack in Westminster.
In sport, the French are far from fancy as they joined Denmark in the World Cup last 16, while Argentina announced 5 changes for tonight.
And in half an hour, all the World Cup action kicking off again in the final 2 games in Group D.
This is BBC 5 Live.
BBC News is with Alison Acton.
Thanks, Sarah. A British man who made bombs for the Taliban has been convicted of plotting to attack MPs and police outside Parliament. 28-year-old Khalid Ali from North London was arrested in April last year with 3 knives in his possession. Our Home Affairs correspondent is Daniel Samford.
He gets on the tube, heads to Victoria Station on the edge of Westminster, walks down into Westminster, goes over to the River Thames, chucks his phone in the river, dumps his Oyster card in a waste paper bin just outside Westminster Tube Station and heads towards Whitehall, at which point the police decide that they've seen enough.
Uber has won a legal battle to have its licence to operate in London restored. It will be able to continue carrying passengers in the capital for 15 months with conditions. Mayor Sadiq Khan says the company must play by the rules. A bus driver and passenger have died in a crash between a double-decker and a lorry in Cambridgeshire. The 2 men, who were in their 50s and 70s, 5 people were seriously injured in the collision on the A47. Prince William has paid his respects to the Jews murdered in the Holocaust during his official visit to Israel and the Palestinian territories. He said it was terrifying to see the shoes left behind by the victims at one extermination camp.
I had a very moving tour around Yad Vashem this morning, which really taught me quite a lot more than I thought I already knew about the true horrors of what happened to the Jews over the war. So I very much appreciated the time everyone gave to showing me around that museum.
Network Rail has introduced speed restrictions because it's worried the hot weather could cause tracks to buckle. The Met Office has issued a health warning for heatwave conditions between now and Thursday evening. And a major wholesaler has begun rationing beer, cider and some soft drinks because of the CO2 shortage. The gas is used to make them fizzy. Booker customers, including bars and restaurants, will only be allowed to buy up to 10 crates of beer at a time. That's the latest news. Shabnam has the sport.
Denmark and France are through to the World Cup last 16 after playing out the first goalless draw of the tournament. The lacklustre game ended with boos from fans, while Peru won their first World Cup match, beating Australia 2-0 before they both head home from Russia. There should be more excitement in tonight's Group D clash between Argentina and Nigeria, with the South Americans needing to win. They've made 5 changes for tonight's game. Sergio Aguero and goalkeeper Willy Caballero have both been dropped. That's at 7 right here on 5 Live and BBC One. Iceland against Croatia will be on BBC 4, the Red Button and online. England goalkeeper Jordan Pickford says they're determined to beat Belgium on Thursday and finish top of Group E. He dismissed talk it might be better for England to finish second in the group. Dele Alli could be back for the game. He returned to full training today after recovering from a thigh strain. British number 1 Johanna Konta is through to the last 16 at Eastbourne after beating Alexander Krunic in straight sets. And Jos Buttler will open the batting for England in their Seoul 2020 against Australia at Edgbaston tomorrow. It's after his heroics in England's recent 5-0 one-day whitewash of the Aussies, where he scored 275 runs.
This is BBC 5 Live on digital, smart speaker, smartphone and tablet.
Thank you, Shabnam. After your admission earlier on that, you're actually a closet Arsenal fan, you really shouldn't be. And of course, John Watson saying for years and years he's been pretending he's a Barnet fan when he's actually a Chelsea fan. They're starting to come in now, thick and fast. I support QPR, but my 10-year-old son is a Chelsea fan. He gets a QPR shirt every season, whether he likes it or not. End of story. Somebody else as well on the subject of getting up for 8 a.m. lectures. The University of Durham is planning to do that to its students. If the strawberries have to be picked early, we can get the Durham students to do that before their lecturers, said Jim the Hat. And Stu, using a phrase that I haven't seen in a long time, oi oi, he says, easy solution. It's been a long time since I've seen that. Easy solution for students to have 8 a.m. lectures. Just don't go to bed. You're from another time, Stu. They're all very sensible.
I remember doing that, Sarah, once. I stayed up all night because I had a 9 a.m. lecture. And then about an hour before the lecture, I realised that I'd got it wrong and I didn't have it.
Bonus, though.
Yeah.
Bonus.
I thought you were going to say you fell asleep in it. You missed it. At least you made it.
Have a quick look at the weather. The weather is very warm. There you go. It's going to be a sunny end to the day for most of us. Patchy cloud in northern England, Scotland and Northern Ireland. This evening and into tonight, the cloud is going to give way to a mostly clear night. There will be some low cloud and some fog along eastern coast. That's going to come quite far inland in some areas, but it will clear quickly tomorrow morning. Set to be fine, warm, sunny tomorrow. Order can tell us what's happening on the road.
I can. Well, the hot weather, because of that, the M5 still has one lane closed southbound in Somerset. It's from 21 at Weston-super-Mare to 22 at Burnham-on-Sea, and that's because the resurfacing work hasn't been completed. One lane still closed. And then the M4 in Berkshire, westbound, junction 7 at Slough West. The earlier accident's just gone, but left queues back to Langley at 5, and your full update at 5:15.
Take 5 Live on the go. On digital, online, smartphone and tablet. 5 Live Drive.
Very good evening to you. Our top story, a British man has been found guilty of planning a terror attack in Westminster and making bombs for the Taliban. Khalid Ali, who's 28, had been tracked by counter-terrorism police since he returned from Afghanistan in November 2016. He was arrested in April last year in Westminster, where he was caught carrying 3 knives. Here's part of the police body cam footage of his arrest.
Got him? 2 sets. Okay, mate, you're under arrest for suspicion of being a terrorism, alright? So you don't have to say anything, but my home defence, do not make me wait.
Chris Phillips is with me. He's a former Detective Chief Inspector with the Metropolitan Police and a former head of the National Counter-Terrorism Security Office. Chris, thanks for joining us. What do you think of what's happened today?
Good evening. Well, this just demonstrates the difficulties that the police have in so many ways of preventing terrorism on our streets. It's a brilliant arrest at the end of the day, a brilliant piece of police work and investigative work, probably helped very much by his mother, who dobbed him in effectively for having the knives and being a bit concerned. But it just goes to show this man may well be responsible for hundreds of murders in Afghanistan. Hundreds. If he set off 300 bombs in Afghanistan, he's effectively a mass murderer. And he came back to the UK with the intention of doing something very similar in the UK. So we're much safer that he's now behind bars.
Also very much assisted by the FBI and their huge hoard of IEDs that have fingerprints on them. That's how he was eventually came to the sort of full attention of the security services here and was tracked and surveyed after that.
Yeah, absolutely, and it also shows the difficulties because obviously the FBI and the people in Afghanistan were picking up this evidence, but of course it's all quite secret, and you can't always use that in investigation, or certainly investigations, but not in trials. So, brilliant piece of work. The police eventually got the authority to use that evidence in court, and of course now it's proven effectively that he's responsible for many deaths in Afghanistan. So brilliant piece of work, but it just goes to show the difficulties the police have got because these people, he's one of a number of hundred of people of a similar ilk across the UK.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it, that he sort of went under the guise of going on this aid convoy initially to Gaza, this Road to Hope convoy. I'm not casting any aspersions about Road to Hope, but he's not the only person that went on one of these convoys and either became radicalised or already went with the intention of doing something ill.
Yeah, well, exactly. These people that want to do that want to go over to fight in these countries, have to find a reasonably legitimate way of doing that so it frees them up to be able to come back at some stage in the future. Now, he clearly came back with the intention of murdering, and almost certainly from what we've seen of the evidence, almost certainly he was going to murder a police officer. And don't forget, this was in pretty much exactly the same location that a murder had happened. A police officer was murdered. Other people were murdered just a few weeks earlier. So it would have been horrifying and effectively some form of a copycat from that incident.
Well, that's quite right. I mean, it was just weeks after those attacks. So it's interesting when you watch the footage of him on CCTV that was around today, of him buying the knives, of him dumping his Oyster card in the bin outside Westminster Tube Station, of him throwing his phone over the bridge. The police were obviously watching him the whole time, but he was 200 metres from Whitehall before they jumped on him. That, you would need to have probably nerves of steel, wouldn't you, to be watching him? How close would they have been to him in the run up to that?
Well, there would have been a surveillance team very close to him at that point. I think they were obviously getting very concerned that he was just literally about to commit a murder. And of course, when you're using knives, you can literally take one out of your bag and stab the person most close to you, and you've committed a terrorist attack. So, you've got to feel for these officers that are doing a great job making really difficult decisions, timing these arrests, because, of course, if they timed it wrong, if they hadn't got the evidence, this guy would still be walking about, still a danger to the public, to us, and able to kill any time. What I would say about this as well is, thank goodness he didn't go down the route of making bombs as he was making in Afghanistan, because we've seen that bombs are so much more scary than knives anyway.
Yes, indeed. But he clearly had the capacity to do it, and was in this country with those skills, albeit that he was being surveyed by the police at all times. I mean, I think people will be very and rightly concerned by that somebody who is you yourself just described as potentially a mass murderer could just be walking around even though the police had their eye on him. How on top of the situation do you think the authorities in this country are currently?
Well, we're asking them to do a pretty much impossible job, because if only he was the only one that was over here. We know that hundreds have returned from these from the war, effectively, in either Afghanistan, Syria, or Iraq. And the police are expected to keep them all under wraps, under surveillance. And of course, there's just not enough officers to do that. So they have to pick and choose who they think at any given time is the most likely to commit a terrorist attack. And on top of that, we've got people being released from prison who have already committed terrorist attacks and certainly not de-radicalised. So the difficulties we're giving our police services are huge. They're coping very well at the moment, albeit we had 5 terrorist attacks last year. Mm-hmm. But we are asking them to do a really difficult job, and we should support them and make sure that, when an arrest like this is made, that we don't get silly information coming out about, individuals being arrested unnecessarily, etc., because they are doing a very difficult job.
Chris, thank you. Chris Phillips, former Detective Chief Inspector with the Metropolitan Police and former head of the National Counter-Terrorism Security Office. 12 minutes past 6, I'm Sarah Brett. You're listening to Drive. Well, next week, the NHS is 70 years old.
On July 5th, the new National Health Service starts, providing hospital and specialist services, medicines, drugs and appliances, care of the teeth and eyes, maternity services. Have you chosen your family doctor? If not, ask your doctor now if he'll look after you under the new scheme. If he can't accept you, ask at the post office for the address of the Executive Council, where you'll be given the names of other doctors in your area who are taking part in the new service. Now don't forget, choose your doctor now.
Complete with the clashing of cymbals, a rather stern government film from those very early days when the NHS was described as being the envy of the world. Is that still the case? A series of special reports into healthcare provision and performance have been commissioned by the BBC, and one of the areas under examination is social care. 4 leading research organisations say that the failure of successive governments to adequately fund and reform social care has left many people without the care and support that they need, and it could undermine longer-term attempts to improve the NHS. Anna Starling is a policy fellow at the Health Foundation, one of the organisations behind the report. Thank you very much for being with us, Anna.
Thank you.
So what do we need to do with social care if we want the NHS to grow and to thrive?
Well, what we're currently seeing is that fewer people who require social care are getting the care that they need, and this is having disastrous consequences for the people that are falling through the cracks in the system. So really we need to see bold and decisive action from government about how we can fund social care and actually how we can increase public awareness of how to access it.
Should it be amalgamated with the NHS proper?
We're very supportive of attempts to bring social care and the NHS closer together, but actually without dealing with the underlying funding pressures for social care, we're not going to see people getting the care that they need, even in an amalgamated system.
OK, so in terms of the money then that's been announced for the NHS this week, what would need to happen? What would be the similar funding package that will be needed for social care?
So we know from the analysis that we've done for this report that we're expecting social care pressures to rise at a rate of about 3.9% every year, which by 2030-31 would lead to a funding shortfall of about £18 billion.
So that's what needs to be happened. So match funding, really, it needs to be matched.
Yeah, we're very keen that you need to show that the pressures can be met, but also beyond that the inadequacies in the current system are addressed so that people are getting the care that they need.
But Anna, you will have heard today and always about the funding pots and how there is a finite amount, and there are obviously